Some of my destinations have errors. Is that going to be the Instagram? If we can't get on Instagram, we can't get on Instagram. We'll do a live Instagram signing. Well, no, it's all worth a try. I would totally get angry at you and like yell at you and degrade you and belittle you, but I'm live. So it would make me look bad. So since I'm being watched, oh, you did your best.
By golly.
By golly. Well, hello, 14 people. Holy cow, people are logging in. They're coming to my party. Well, hello from Iowa. Hello from Denmark. Hello, Denmark. Or as they say in Denmark, Denmark. Actually, that's what they say in Sweden. And by that, I mean that's not what they say at all. You're welcome for all the tips. I love my job. Always down to party. Well, it's funny. So I don't like drink or do drugs. And so my version of a party is, well, I have coffee. And, well, hello from Loveland, Colorado. I definitely got coffee. I got, thought about changing the name to Facebook user, but others would beat you to it. North Carolina, hola. That's not from Sweden. Good evening. Looking forward to your clinic before the Brent Hambrick. I will be at there. Hello from Buffalo. Go Bills. Roll Bills. By the way, you want to see Buffalo? There's Buffalo right there. In fact, that's not just Buffalo. That's America. 53 people. Virginia, Ohio. We like say, hey, in Denmark. I think that's actually, if I was more sophisticated, I would know how that was supposed to be pronounced. Let's see, how do we go? Which way do I go? There we go. That's probably better. Took a clinic of yours in Fargo. Hope you come back sometime. Hope you have that belt still. The belt got stolen. If you remember last year, our trailer got stolen. I posted about it and, blah, blah, blah. Everything we owned got stolen. Well, a couple months later, which I didn't post about except in one place for a reason, was that somebody took a knife when we were in Las Vegas and slid open the fabric, the soft top of the Jeep, and stole everything we owned out of the Jeep a couple months after we got our trailer stolen. But I didn't want to be negative, a negative person, so I didn't post about it, except on the Las Vegas page, because all of my golf discs and golf bag and everything was stolen. And I said, maybe someone will, or people should be aware in case somebody shows up at the course trying to sell our, all my stuff. Whatever, it's just stuff. Hello from Indiana, Columbus, Ohio in the house. We were in Columbus 2 days ago. We'll be in Columbus in 2 days. Don't tell any of the people there. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I'm going to win the Columbus Open. But I want everybody to enjoy the rest of their weekend. So don't let them know that I'm going to win the Columbus Open. All right. So just keep that between us, everybody. Appreciate that. No, don't be sorry about losing stuff. I mean, let me go ahead and try to complain about the life I'm living right now. And let's see how much sympathy I get. I'm the luckiest person in the world. So when things happen, they're just things. Yeah, that was our Jeep. Mm-hmm. Actually, the funny thing, I'll tell you a funny story, though. And I'm really just telling you this because it's funny. But that was the second robbery of the year. The third robbery, the third time we got robbed last year, was out in California. On the back of our Jeep, we had both of our mountain bikes attached to the back. And we were in Los Angeles, not in a great neighborhood, but not in a bad neighborhood, kind of a medium neighborhood. And we pulled up and we had the parking space right next to the lobby. So if you pulled your car up to unload your bags, we were right there, well lit, right in front of the lobby. We thought our stuff would be safe there, right? Our mountain bikes are on the back. We didn't think about taking them in or anything because they're attached to the back of our Jeep. They're chained up. So anyways, we're asleep that night at 1 o'clock in the morning. The phone rings. I pick up the phone. The guy in the lobby, says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know that someone's stealing your bikes outside." He literally called to wake me up. to tell us that someone's stealing our bikes. And it was like, and like, what are we supposed to do about it now? I'm sure they're already gone. And I was not mad at all about the fact that he didn't confront them. That is not in his job description. Go out and confront a homeless person trying to steal. That does not fall under the umbrella of what I would even expect him to do. But he let me know, and I just went back to sleep. What are you going to do? By the way, I keep showing that I'm getting errors on my destination, and I keep closing the window. We were trying to broadcast to Instagram too, and it wasn't happening. I can't. I got my glasses on so I can read the video. I would be sorry to lose my Berg. I mean, I lost all my discs. I mean, when they broke into the Jeep, we lost. I mean, both times we lost everything we owned, and we don't have a storage unit, so we literally lost everything. But it's still just stuff. It's not the end of the world. All right, so there is no formal reason for being on here except to announce that tomorrow my Tour Series Lutz is available. From Kastaplast. It is the disc that I'm throwing most of my hyzer flips with when I want to actually pop a disc on a hyzer and take it up to flat. This disc is absolutely sick. It's amazing. It's great. I love it. Tonight, I didn't know how to phrase it because I'm not technically doing a signing because I'm not here signing in person. But when I was in the warehouse and where I ship all my discs out of in Georgia, I signed 100, I believe, Lutz of these discs that are available. 100 of them are signed, and I believe I signed 42 of these Bergs. So those are in my store right now at scottstokely.net. If you click on it, there's a category of signed. When they're gone because I'm not in Georgia. I won't be signing anymore. So I think there's 42 Bergs. There's 100 Lutz. I expect those all to sell out pretty quickly. But other than that, oh, by the way, they're technically the Lutz debuts tomorrow, but they're available at scottstokely.net right now because it didn't make any sense to not have them available in case people came to the live signing or live stream, whatever you call it. All right. Let's see. Yeah, the Berg's in the stall. Great discs. Well, this is not the stall. This is the Lutz. Oh, but check this out. You aren't as wrong as you thought when you called it a stall, because when we ordered the Lutz, we got 3,000 of these Lutz in, and on the hot stamp, they put the stall flight numbers on there. So all 3,000 of the Lutz are misstamped with stall flight numbers. But just because they're stamped with stall flight numbers, it doesn't fly like a stall. If you want a disc that flies like the stall, buy a stall. Those are also available at my scottstokely.net. But if you buy the Lutz, it's going to have stall numbers on it for the first 3,000. So they're misstamps. Technically, they're collector's items because they'll never be misstamped again. If you hyzer flip a disc with a backhand, you can still hyzer flip the same disc with a forehand or a sidearm. Yeah, 100% you can. The thing about backhands versus sidearms is that all you are is reversing the spin of the disc. Everything you do on a backhand, the sidearm is just a mirror image of that. It's a mirror image flight. You would use the disc, select that disc on a mirror image of a hole that you would have thrown that disc on on the backhand. It's a different delivery only because if you're, for example, right-handed and you throw discs backhand, it is in the vast majority, 99% of the time, it'll be easier to learn a sidearm with the same throwing hand, easier than trying to learn a backhand with the opposite hand. But sidearm has nothing to do with anything except you're just reversing the spin of the disc. Everything that does one will do the other in reverse. Do I still throw some gateway? Absolutely. I throw the Wizard. I have a Tour Series Wizard at scottstokely.net. I use that for all of my longer putts. My Circle 2 putting has improved dramatically since I switched to the Wizard. I use it for straight shots that I can't reach with the Berg, but aren't so far that I start using my Harp or my Truth. It's just a range of discs. If I can reach it, if the Wizard is the slowest disc I can reach the hole or the shot with, I'm going to throw the Wizard. And I have Tour Series Assassins coming out. I think those are the next ones I'm announcing. They are not for sale yet, although I am already throwing them. But I'm going to be doing a whole series about how to throw rollers because I basically am using the Assassin mostly for a roller. I use it for hyzer flips when I want a disc that flips a lot, like, you know, more than the Lutz. But it's primarily a roller disc for me. By the way, if you're asking questions and I missed them, I apologize. Just ask again and I'll get them. Hyzer flip backhand 300 feet. Expect the forehand at 250 to 275. That's just because you don't throw the sidearm as far as the backhand. Now, at the highest level, the backhand is going to fly a little bit farther, but that doesn't mean you can't throw the sidearm. In a perfect world, you can throw the sidearm really, really far. I know I'm maybe like an outlier because I throw really far, but I still throw my sidearm 500 feet, and I'm 52 years old. Not 500, I throw like 550, which means that I think it's reasonable for a player, especially a younger player, to expect to be throwing their sidearms comfortably over 400. And then the farther throwers start to get up into the 500s. And then these super awesome, unbelievably athletic sidearm throwers throw about a foot or 2 feet shorter than me. You like that? Let's sneak that one in. MVP Axiom, wish they'd pick me up. I would pick them up. I have a mixed bag. I pick the companies that I want to work with, and I throw their discs, and then I make arrangements with them. I've been talking to MVP. I love MVP. They're fantastic. I've thrown their discs. I may start. I love the Photon and the Wave so much. I'm kind of thinking about trying to incorporate those in to my bag. Have I tried the cheap flat top Wizard, 1/4 inch thinner, incredible underrated disc? I have tried most of the Gateway discs. I mean, I've tried most everything, but what I've settled on. So here's the thing: when I build my bag, and this goes for any of you building a bag, is you don't build a bag full of the discs you want. That's the backwards approach. You build your bag with the shots you're trying to make. You need discs to do. You need to make certain shots, and then what you pick is the best disc for you to make that shot. And the general philosophy, and this is a really simple way to build a bag, which is you need a right turn, a straight, and a left flying putter. A right turn, a straight, a left flying approach disc / mid range. A right turn, left turn, straight flying driver. And then if you throw far enough, you need a right turn, straight flying, and left turn long range driver. Then you mix it up with some utility discs. You might have a disc that you prefer throwing thumbers with. You might have a disc that you like to throw most of your rollers with. You might have a disc like the Baobab, which, by the way, I love the Baobab for extremely specific types of approach shots. But you build it with the shots, and then you find the discs that work. Now, you can get more specific than that, and you could have 3 different left turn drivers, for instance. But it's kind of redundant. I mean, it's not that there's not subtle differences between, I'm trying to think of some examples, between the Firebird and the Lucid X Felon. There are some subtle differences there. I don't think they're enough of a difference to bag them both. Now, if you are a 1040 rated player and you start to notice the slightest little nuances, maybe you're starting to see a difference in different situations. And I still say that's a maybe. But it's not more complicated than that. Right turn straight, left turn of the 4 different flying distance discs. That gives you 12 different discs in your bag, a couple of utility discs, and your putters. Or maybe your putters and a long range putter. Now you have 15 models, but you have a complete set at that point. So it's not that the Chief isn't a good disc. Chief, oh wait, somebody just sent me, oh that's right, how does that work? It's badges? Adriana?
Badges or stars?
Yeah, you can send badges and stars. I'm still learning all this stuff. I'm one of these old people that's trying to catch up. Thank you for whoever sent the $10. That's wonderful. Thank you. If you have any questions you want, shoot them over. I'll make sure I get them. But so it's not that the Chief isn't a great disc. It's not that there's a ton of great discs I'm not throwing. It's that there might be 11 awesome discs that are right turn mid-range discs. Just 11 of them that are awesome. If I pick one, it doesn't mean the other 10 aren't good. It means I just picked that one. Am I excited to play in the Brent Hambrick Open? I'm super excited. I was very close friends with Brent Hambrick. After I got done touring, I actually lived at Brent's house. I don't want to say we were roommates, but I lived at his house for a few months as I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life after touring for the first season. And when Brent passed away, it was right before the World Championships in 1997 in Charlotte. And I got word that he was sick, and he'd gone through chemo. The Hodgkins had been in remission. I got all the word on that. That he had been through that, had gotten better. I mean, we're friends. I mean, I've seen him get better and then get worse. But the word came back that they can't treat him anymore. There's nothing they can do for him. He's sick. We're going to lose him. And so it was one of the most surreal things I've ever done. Oh, thank you very much. Because I drove to Columbus, and he didn't have a lot of energy then. So I had half an hour with him, and I went to Columbus to say goodbye to him. And if you haven't actually said goodbye to someone knowing you will never see them again, it's I don't wish that upon anybody. It's awful. It's probably more awful to lose somebody and then realize that you didn't get to say goodbye. I think that's worse. But it's a pretty bad experience, going through that. Not as bad as what Brent went through, but it was tough. So yeah, I was very close to Brent. I loved Brent, and I'm excited to honor him in the tournament. Thanks for signing your son's Lutz at the LWS Madar Day. Oh, absolutely.
That was Andy Smart on YouTube that sent the badge.
Oh, Andy Smart on YouTube sent the $10 badge. Thank you, Andy Smart. That is very Andy Smart of you. I didn't just say that. Can I take that back? That's not even. Yes, I'm at Niagara Falls, by the way. Okay, so check this out. Here's the wild thing about Niagara Falls. I ain't setting this video up with Niagara Falls in the background to brag about. Look at how great my life is. That's not why I'm doing it. This was not even planned. We came to that. We were in Cincinnati, and we're like, hey, Niagara Falls is 9 hours away. Let's go up to Niagara Falls. We have a few days off. Didn't plan on staying, but got here late and wanted to get a room. But here's the absurdity of my life right now. And it's important that, I recognize how absurd this is that we're sitting here. We got the top floor. We got an executive suite on the top floor of a nice, fancy hotel overlooking the falls. And I played Frisbee golf for a living. That's absurd. Decades of playing in obscurity, sleeping on floors, sleeping in my car in rest areas to get to tournaments, flying to tournaments for first place. If you won, was less than the cost of the airline ticket, let alone food and rental car. Scraping change to eat at gas stations. I did this for so many years, and now all of a sudden the way the sport's blown up and my teaching career in disc golf's taken off, it's like I'm mind blown that this is where I'm at right now. I wouldn't have thought this even 4 years ago. So now here I am. I got to be this fancy person I'm on the top floor of a hotel overlooking Niagara Falls. It's absurd. I play Frisbee for a living, but I feel like I've paid my dues. I've earned it. Pun par 3 course. Any tips on playing practice rounds for the Brent Hambrick next weekend? Yeah, work on shots. Here's the tips for playing any practice round. Play the course, but don't just play for score. If you throw a shot into the woods and you're just going to be pitching out, it doesn't do you any darn good to pitch out and throw your shot. And if you get in the woods, you're going to throw from wherever it happens to be in the woods. That's not predictable. Go throw your approach shot on a par 4 from the landing zone you're shooting for. Even if you don't hit that landing zone in practice, you need to practice what you're going to be doing. Every single hole without a bounce that has a drop zone, throw the drop zone. That's just like practicing a hole. Hopefully it's a hole you're never going to play, but you may play it. If you play a hole when you're practicing, this is why playing for score makes no sense in practice. If you're playing a hole and it's, like say it's a blind shot and you step up and you throw a couple shots that you think look good and you get up there and they're both 40 feet short, no problem. Go back and rethrow that hole because you got to get a feel for how much farther that is. Play shots and practice shots. Don't play practice rounds just to play a round of golf. Like you'll have to play 20 rounds before you start to get all the different shots in. And you can accomplish all that in like 1 or 2 rounds where you're actually working on the shots on the course. That's what you want to do. So that's how you practice for every tournament. You need to throw frisbees better to earn your shots in the woods. I like that you call them frisbees. I call them frisbees. By the way, I call it frisbee golf, and you know why I do it? I like to piss off the kids because I hear them correct people all the time and get annoyed when they call it frisbee golf, except I'm kind of allowed. So they can't get mad at me. So I kind of say it just to bug them. Would you recommend 2 backhands or just normal IF? It is, if it's an option to choose. No, I mean, there's no reason to have a second backhand. Throw your sidearm. Sidearms are easy. I mean, they're not easy, but I mean, watch my videos. I'll show you how to throw sidearms. You'll have a sidearm. Take my classes, watch my videos. You can throw sidearms. I mean, you can throw sidearms really far. Again, I know I'm an outlier, but I hit the fastest time on the radar gun at the Idlewild tournament. The fastest throw on the radar gun, and I did it with a sidearm. And I'm old. And I know I throw far. I know I'm an outlier. But if the old guy is still throwing that far sidearm, take 20% off that. A 25% is now it's a realistic number that most players can maybe hope to hit. That's still far enough. So yeah, that's absolutely the way you want to do it. Final nines are the shit. Is there a final 9 at the tournament in Columbus?
No, somebody said they need to bring them back.
Oh, bring them back. Yeah. Final 9s were great, but that's because back then no one came out to watch us play ever. And when I say nobody, I'm not saying quotes around nobody, but 10 or 20 people. I mean, nobody came out to watch us play. So the only gallery you got was you would play 2 rounds Saturday, 2 rounds Sunday. At the end of the second round Sunday, the top 4 open players would play 9 more holes. They didn't do it in the women's division, but that's because there weren't 4 women that played back then. Typically, when more women started playing, they would often include a women's final 9 as well. But that's because there was no gallery. By the way, that also illustrates how different and kind of cheesy the courses were back then. You would play 2 rounds on Saturday, 2 rounds on Sunday, and after the second round on Sunday, you would add up scorecards and do all this stuff and do a final 9. Like there was enough time for 2 rounds and a final 9 with no automated scoring. There was like tabulation time and cards sorted between rounds because the rounds took just a couple hours because these courses, the courses back in the 90s were silly. Some of them were good courses, but by modern standards, they would be considered pretty silly. Do the 9 holes start with a clean slate or they chase? No, you keep your scores. The only exception to that was the Wintertime Open, which was the top 3 players make the final 9 and start from scratch. I personally don't care for that because that negates the work you've done. Now, the idea behind it is that way, if someone has a 5-stroke lead, it keeps it interesting because you're starting from scratch. But I think that the person with the 5-stroke lead earned the right for the final 9 to be boring if they played well. Holy cow, you parked the disc. Parked because of the hyzer flip forehand video. Almost dropped in at 18. Beautiful. Share. Post to your Facebook page. Tell everybody to watch that video. Anders, I'm doing a class on becoming a cleat disc golfer. I'm just 2 licenses in, but really want to recommend to everybody. The teaching ability of the man is brilliant. Thank you so much. One of my favorite qualities in a human being is I just love people that think I'm brilliant. Followed very closely by people that think I'm handsome. Those 2 types of people are my favorites. No, I appreciate that. I take a lot of pride in my teaching. I'm positive I'm the best teacher in the sport. And it's not that I'm smarter than, it's not any of those things. I'm not saying that some of the people that are teaching now that have been doing it for 2, 3, 4 years aren't going to be better than me. Maybe they will someday. But I got 30 years on them. I've been playing for 46 years, but I got 30 years of teaching on them. Everyone in the sport's playing catch up to me. And again, partially that's just because I'm old and I've been doing it longer. But at the moment, I swear by my teaching method. You're taking the World Championships, not having a Final Nine. That Final Nine was a decider. My take on the way tournaments are run is always the same, which is it's your tournament, run it any way you want to. I say the same thing about holes. I've never criticized a golf hole in my life, and I never will. If I don't like that hole, I don't have to play the tournament. It's not my place to say I don't like a hole. Now, I'm not saying that it's not okay to give constructive feedback in private, not in social media. By the way, my glasses are kooky. It's not that you're not entitled to an opinion. It's just, to me, I just play what's in front of me. And I think tournament directors can do whatever the hell they want. They're the ones that are doing the work. They're the ones that got the sponsorship. So they want a Final Nine, awesome. If they don't, awesome. Hands down, the best teacher in sport, no question. He explained it so well. Thank you very much, Melanie. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story about this. So the reason I'm so good at teaching isn't because I've done more than 500 clinics. It isn't because I have 300 tutorial videos. It isn't because I wrote a book on how to play disc golf. It isn't because I released 3 instructional DVDs on how to disc golf. None of that is why I'm the best teacher. The reason why is because I spent 3 years, in the last 5, I spent about 3 years doing more than 1,200 private lessons. And when I started doing private lessons, all of a sudden, all those things that I taught on my YouTube channel and in my clinics and all these other in my book, all of a sudden when I'm standing 5 feet in front of somebody, and I was charging good money for these lessons, if what I was telling them, which started with the same thing I would have said in a YouTube video or at a clinic, but if what I was telling them, if they couldn't do what I was telling them, that's not their fault, that's mine. I had to figure out a different way, a different method to get them to do it. And once I got one person with a method to get them to do it, I would try that method on the next person and it wouldn't work for them. But it was those 1,200 private lessons where I learned how to teach, because that's where I started getting feedback on, if I explain it this way, it works. When I explain it that way, it doesn't. And that's the biggest thing lacking in teachers that are out there. It's not that they disagree with me on how to throw. We all agree on the right way to throw. It's just, if you haven't gotten that feedback, like you have a YouTube video that says to do something, you can have a really great video that sounds really good explaining how to do something, but until you've actually stood in front of 1,000 people and said those same words to them and watched to see if they can do what you're teaching them, you don't know that it's a good method or not. It's good in theory. So I've looked back and I've thought a lot of my teaching methods that I had before that I was so proud of, that I've developed this great clinic, I realized a lot of those things didn't work. I didn't change how you're supposed to throw the disc, but my way of teaching it changed. That's the only difference. All right, I'll stop talking about how good I am at teaching, but I believe in it. As a music teacher, confirm private lessons make you a much better teacher. Absolutely.
So August asked, what's your cost on your class?
My class. So the online class that I'm doing, it's a 6-month class. It's just $40 a month. It's the least expensive thing. Well, so when I come to town and I do a clinic, it's 2 hours, huge group. It's $30 a person, but as many people want to show up. I spend 2 hours covering stuff. A lot of it's demonstrating, entertaining, teaching. That's the lightest teaching I do. It's good stuff, but it's $30, big group setting. My online class is 6 months, $40 a person, and every $40 per month for 6 months. And that is 2 live classes, but there's also, you're in a group setting where I have paid trainers as well as myself in every single group, where you're posting form review videos for form reviews. There's a lesson plan, there's teaching. So there's a lot of interaction back and forth. And then my seminars my full day classes are $400 a person. And I do 6 people at a time, and I cap it at 6. That's the most expensive for one day, but that's also, it's like 10 hours, 9 or 10 hours of very intensive work. So they're just all tiered differently. And I no longer do private lessons because I'm in this wonderful position where I'm actually making really good money. It doesn't scale to spend an hour with somebody based on how much I can now make teaching in groups. So,
hey, wow, is that a waterfall behind you?
is it a waterfall behind me? Yes, it's a Niagara Fall behind me.
And we're on the Canadian.
Oh, and we're on the Canadian side. Yep, right over here. See those lights over there? That's America. See those waterfalls right there? That's Canadian water. It's cleaner and no, it was about to get political. I was about to say the water had better health care, and then everybody was going to be mad at me. It's more northerny water. There's Canadian water has more particles of moose poop than U.S. water all day. So if you're looking for moose poop in your water, can't beat Canadian.
What's your favorite tattoo?
My favorite what?
Tattoo that you have.
My favorite tattoo, well, of course, probably this, right? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? This is my wedding ring to the sport. That was my way of saying when I walk into a room, a job interview, a bank to get a loan, I don't care what it is. I don't care where I am. The first thing you're going to know about me is that I'm a disc golfer, and then you get to know me afterwards. But that is a connection I never wanted to be disconnected with, because I left the sport for 13 years. And when I left the sport, I left my family, I left my friends, I left my base, I left my support system, my safety net, I left everything. And I didn't come from I don't have a family. I had my mom, who I wasn't very close with. So when I left my base and was out, left to my own devices, smart as I think I am, after about 10 years of being basically on my own, things started to spiral downhill for me. I've talked about this extensively, but I guess it's probably like 9 or 10 years ago now. But I had for a short period of time with substance abuse. I had a really dark time in my life, and it was because I left my Frisbee family. So I wanted to make sure that never happened again. So I'm now married to disc golf. I'll never leave her again. Do I prefer overstable, stable, or understable and throwing sidearm for distance? Well, first off, it depends on the shot. I will have to throw a little bit overstable when I throw hard, just because at the speed I'm throwing, if I'm throwing in the high 70 miles an hour, even a stable disc is going to turn over and roll just because of the speed that it's leaving my hand. Stability is based on an estimate of the speed being thrown. I mean, all of those are estimates. The flight numbers on a disc will be different if you're throwing 20 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour. So it's an estimate. But when you're throwing faster, discs become more understable. So an overstable disc, to me, like a destroyer at high speeds, is not an overstable disc. It flies dead straight until the end when it tails off. But that's for distance. For golf shots, it depends on the hole. Wide open fairway. I mean, if it's a wide open fairway, same thing. I mean, it depends on if I'm trying to get the distance. If I'm trying to throw really far in a wide open fairway, I'm probably throwing backhand. Even though I can throw a sidearm 500 feet, to throw a sidearm 500 feet, I got to maximize the distance throw. I got to throw a big Anheuser flex shot. It's a distance throw. I'm going to throw it, I'm going to turn it over. It's going to have a up high, nose down, big fade. It's a much less controllable throw, where I can throw a 500-foot backhand hyzer fairly routinely. That's not even a lot. I mean, it's not that I'm not throwing hard to throw 500 feet, but I'm not stretching my limits at all at that point. I can still throw a golf shot 500 feet off a tee pad, a little hyzer flip, a little bit of hyzer, pops up flat, flies straight. So if it's an open field distance throw, I'm throwing the backhand because I can control it a bit easier. Oh, you want to see what the Lutz and what does it look like? Yes, the Tour Series Lutz. Where'd they go? It was in my hand a minute ago. How can I lose a disc when I haven't left to see? Yeah, my Tour Series Lutz. Hey, I'll plug this again at scottstokely.net. my Tour Series Lutz is available. Technically, it's available at scottstokely.net tomorrow. The Scott Stokely Tour Series Lutz. However, you can buy it tonight. It's up on the site, and they ship out of a warehouse in Alpharetta, Georgia. All my discs do, and I signed 100 of these. So when you order, you can click to order the signed Lutz at scottstokely.net. You'll get a signed one of these, and I also have, I believe, 42 signed Bergs. I expect all these to sell out tonight. If they don't sell out, my feel goods are going to be hurt. Okay. I know. Did you just laugh at me?
Yeah.
It's going to hurt my feel goods. So they'll probably sell it. But they are available tonight, scottstokely.net.
Anyone available in the Houston area to teach the Stokely method?
To teach the Stokely method in the Houston area, no. As far as teaching in person, there's only one person that is actually allowed to use the Stokely method name, and that's Phil Bartholomew. And this was a long build. He actually traveled with us. He came to 5 of my full day seminars. Then he started teaching seminars with me present, observing his seminars. The thing is, I take a lot of pride in the teaching, and like my teaching is never going to be a cash grab where I just give people like a flyer or a 30-minute class on my method, and then they get to use my name, and I book it through my website, charge 10% or whatever, whatever kind of model you might use to license your name. If someone's teaching with my method, the method that I teach, it's an intensive training process because they got to get it right. And they also have to do it my way, which is kind of hard to do because everybody that's teaching the method, of course, we're all human. We all have our own opinions. We have our own skill sets. We might disagree with things. And the whole time, I'm not even telling you that I'm perfect and my method is perfect. Like, I'm still learning stuff every day. However, if you're attaching the Stokely method brand to it, I don't care even if there is a better way to teach it, it doesn't matter. The method has to be taught my way for my name to be on it. So I'm very, very picky about that. I am training somebody else to teach in person right now. He is a past world champion, and he's come to 2 of the seminars already. And I believe he's going to be out teaching seminars next year. But we're going to be working on this for a year to build to this. I'm telling you, this is not willy-nilly stuff. The way I teach is very, I have a way of doing things that and my reasons for it.
Murder Mike says he wants to do another interview.
Murder Mike, I will appear on your show every week if you ask me to. Dude, your show is the funnest show out there. Of course, by the way, my glasses are all cockeyed. It's probably my ears. Because you gave me a hair, you trimmed my ear. Of course, I'm going to be on there. By the way, you know why the glasses are cockeyed? Oh my God, now everything's blurry. This is one of the, I'm like, I swear I'm in a simulation, like with how lucky things are for me. So I can't see a thing right now, but it just so happens the glasses that I can see with perfectly are from the dollar store. And the reason why this is amazing is because I either lose or break my glasses every 2.3 days. If these cost $300 a piece, I couldn't make money fast enough to support my broken glasses habit. So I buy 10 pairs of glasses at a time. They last about a month, the 10 pairs, maybe a month and a half, and I'm not exaggerating. And then I just, buy 10 more pairs for $10. So anyways, the problem with the dollar store glasses, they get bent and they sit in my face like this and I look drunk, but I don't drink.
What do you think about flight numbers? Do they need to go away?
No, flight numbers are fantastic.
They need a new system. What company gives the best flight numbers?
Hats off to Innova Champion Discs. I have no relationship with them whatsoever, but hats off to them for developing the flight numbers. They crushed it with that. The thing about flight numbers is no flight number can accurately predict what the disc is going to do for you, because you throw a disc at a different spin, different speed, different nose angle, different amount of wobble. So they can't tell you exactly what the disc will do in your hand. However, once you've thrown a disc with flight numbers and know what that disc does for you, the flight numbers can tell you how another disc will fly relative to that one. So it doesn't matter how much or how understable a -2 disc is, a -3 disc, in theory, will be more understable for you. So you get a baseline and then you base it on your own skill set. I think the flight numbers are a fantastic innovation. And this is one of the ones that's hard for me to concede a little bit, because the first flight numbers in disc golf were created by me. I created the first flight chart. Lightning had done something, believe it or not, where they actually kind of drew the flight of the disc and put it on the hot stamp. But I don't really count that because the path that they said the disc flew didn't match how the discs flew. So I created the first flight chart for Discraft. Basically, I went through every single Discraft disc. However, my flight chart was I gave every disc from a -3 to a +3. One number, how much it turned. And so even though I developed the first, quote, flight chart, it was so rudimentary and so lacking that, you know, when the end of a flight chart came out, it knocked everything I did out of the water. I think it's really smart. I give them a lot of credit for that. And the flight numbers are close enough. And you also just have to throw a disc. I mean, sometimes you just have to throw them, because even disc models, the same model will vary from plastic to plastic, run to run, you know, but you're not going to put different flight numbers on the exact same model of disc. I think that'd be hard to keep up with, borderline impossible. So, yeah, they're great. It's a great starting place. They're awesome. Did we ever figure out what happened to our stolen trailer? Yeah, it was sold for crystal meth. I think I didn't have to get any insider information to figure that one out. If someone backs their, all we know is that it was a maroon minivan that backed up to the trailer at 5 o'clock in the morning. They got that much out of the surveillance on the hotel camera. No, it got stolen like anything else. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that bad things happen, but worse things have happened in the world. It's not the end of the world. Yellow is where the single Discraft number came from. You're welcome. I created those. I mean, I created them with Jim Kenner. I didn't create them by myself, but I was tasked with rating those first discs. And by the way, those are still better than nothing. When you were in a store and you didn't know anything, that disc had a -2, that disc had a +1. You still knew that one was more stable than the other. It was better than nothing. But the end of a flight numbers are good. You know, how it flies at the beginning of the flight, how it flies at the end of its flight, you know, how fast it is, and like how much it glides. Although glide and fade can kind of go together. Almost. They don't, but I think they line up a little bit. What's my favorite disc? Well, let me start off by lying to you and say my Tour Series Lewis, available at scottstokely.net. This is my #1 all-time favorite disc until it sells out. And then my favorite disc will be the Assassin. It's coming out next.
Oh, tell me about the flight numbers on that.
Which, by the way, the flight numbers on these Lutz are wrong. Those are stall flight numbers. Ignore the flight numbers on this first run of Lutz. We got 3,000 of these misstamped. So these are the stall flight numbers. The right flight numbers are on the site. No, I have to say my favorite disc is the Berg. I love the Berg. I love the Berg. I don't want to say anything, but I actually put it under my pillow at night. And I put my pillow on top of the Berg. And it gives me just the support I need to keep my neck from getting sore. So the biggest flaw in my game, and it's important that you're solid. Yeah, I mean, you got to have every part of the game. A perfect human being is equally skilled at every part of their game, but I'm not. Most of us still have things we're better at than others. It doesn't mean I'm a dominant this player or that player, because that almost implies a choice. But the fact is the weakest part of my game forever has always been my finesse. Backhand, my finesse shots in general, but my finesse backhand especially. I've worked on that more than anything else. It's just, rank all my skills in order. My sidearm is, I still think it's the best in the game. My backhand finesse is, there's probably, 1,000 people out there that are better at it than me, but it used to be 10,000. The Berg has allowed me to have a finesse game that I never thought possible. So even though it's still the weakest part of my game, it's pretty damn good now, and it started with this disc.
Here's a long one. I'll put on the screen.
Long question. What most ridiculous tournament you ever played? The one that made you question your life? Everybody's got one, but as a living legend in the sport, I think everyone would love the story. The most ridiculous tournament I ever played. All right, so when I went out to October Frizz in Winfield, Kansas in 1992, it was 4 courses, 300 players. I've seen the stats from the tournament. It shows like 60. I don't know what that means. There were 300 players there. There were 4 courses filled with players. 4 temporary courses. Now, there weren't 72 temporary baskets in the world at this point, probably. Certainly not in the state of Kansas. But back then, no disc golfers could afford baskets. Everybody was making baskets in their backyard. They'd get a trash can and metal trash can lid, and they would glue it to a pole, and they'd hang garden hoses from it. Like, everybody had some version of a basket in their backyard. Well, at October Frizz, everybody would bring those baskets out, use those baskets on the course at a PDGA tournament, sanctioned tournament, with baskets that some of them were made out of garden hoses. The tee pads were sometimes clearly marked. Sometimes they were, right next to that tree over there. It was a very different time, and it was very casual, but October Frizz was the casualest of all of them. At the tournament, and again, I can't stress this enough, a PDGA sanctioned tournament, first prize was like $200 maybe, or something like that, first place in golf. First place for the most fun award, for the player that was deemed as the one having the most fun, was like 2 airline tickets anywhere in the continental U.S., a hefty bag full of discs and blenders and 8-track cassette players or something. Like, it was probably like a $1,500 or $2,000 worth of stuff if you won the most fun award. $200 if you won the tournament. And basically what it meant is who could be as crazy as possible. And to tell you the story, and sorry, it's kind of a long story, but the year I was there, it was won by Clint McClellan. I'll just share a couple of the highlights, but this is all weekend long. So we're at the tournament director Harvey's house the night before. Everybody's drinking. Back then, that's everyone did, just about. And not everyone, that's not fair to say, but the party atmosphere was even a little bit more common. And the house is filled full of people, and God's honest truth, there are 40 witnesses to this story. And if you post to Kansas, like 4 of them that were there will tell you. Somebody says, "Hey, Clint, you need to eat that moth." There's this moth flying around the kitchen. And Clint says, "Well, bring me the moth and I'll eat it." So all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're chasing this moth all over the house, packed full of people. We were trying to catch this moth because we want to watch Clint McClellan eat a moth. By the way, Clint McClellan, second place at the PDGA World Championships in 1986. High-level professional disc golfer. And we're chasing this moth around, and we can't catch it. We're like, "Clint, we can't catch the moth." And God's honest truth, Clint puts out his hand and says, "Don't worry. The moth will come to me." And the moth flew down, landed in Clint's hand. He threw it in his beer. They drank it. So that was the start of the evening. So later on that night, everybody passes out in the living room. For some reason, Clint needs to go to the bathroom. He wanders out the front door and goes pees on a tree in Harvey's front yard, and then stumbles back in drunk right into the door and passes out on the couch. of Clint's next door neighbor's house. This neighbor had just moved in, or had Harvey's next door neighbor's house, hadn't even met Harvey yet. He wakes up to find Clint McClellan very close to naked, passed out, sleeping on his couch at the tournament. Those are just some of the festivities that happened. Anyways, that was October Frizz. It was the most fun tournament in the sport, certainly back then. Long story.
Favorite plastic for the Berg?
I like the K3 because I like my Berg to be understable. The Berg flies like an old school Frisbee to me. I throw this disc, it doesn't fly straight. It's understable. I throw it on a hyzer, it turns to the right. If I'm throwing back end, turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right, and it just keeps turning over the whole time. It flies like an Ultra Star does. It flies like a 141 or a 165 did. It flies like an old Frisbee. And I love the way I can control that disc. It does not fade it at the end. Does not mean the other Bergs are worse. I'm probably going to come out with a K1 Tour Series because I want an overstable Berg. But for now, it's the K3.
You visit a lot of random tourist traps. Which one is your favorite?
A lot of random tourist traps. Wow, y'all are pitching me softballs. I will tell you the greatest tourist trap story ever. And again, I don't ever make up a word of these stories. In fact, I'm traveling around with Adriana, and she read my book and heard all these stories. When I met her, well, she told me later that she thought, it's not that I don't believe this guy, but he's got to be exaggerating on these stories. And over the past several years now, she has met people that were there for most of these stories that have confirmed that the stories are not only true, but they're actually often, would you say more?
They're softened for the book.
I soften the stories for the book.
The exact opposite of what I thought.
Okay, so first off, love tourist traps. I have been to the world's largest everything. I've seen the world's largest frying pan. It can fry up to 10,000 eggs in one cooking. I've been to the Greyhound Bus Museum in Hibbing, Minnesota. And what's fantastic about the fact that there's a Greyhound Bus Museum is, number one, the Greyhound line doesn't go to Hibbing, Minnesota, yet the museum's there. And number two, there were no Greyhound buses at the Greyhound Bus Museum. It was literally a museum full of, like, you know, a chair from the bus every single decade to see how these are, to see how the Greyhound bus chairs have evolved over time. I've been to the world's most toxic lake, the Berkeley Pit in Montana. We stop at all of these, and none of them come close to this story. So so my best friend Randy Lom, myself, and both of our partners, girlfriends, whatever at the time, were driving through Wyoming, and we saw this like dilapidated hand-painted sign in the middle of nowhere that said, you know, down this road, come visit the world's deepest hand-dug well. And we're like, yeah, obviously we're going to go see the world's deepest hand-dug well. So we turn off on this windy road in the middle. Like, there's no telephone poles, there's nothing. I mean, it's Wyoming might as well be the Sahara Desert in parts. I mean, it's desolation up there. And we're going over these hills, nothing. And finally we go, and there's this mobile home sitting in the middle of nowhere. And we get closer to it, and there's another hand-painted sign. Take a tour of the world's deepest hand-dug well, $4.50, which is a ton of money considering this was like 1998 or something like that. $4.50 for the world's deepest hand-dug well tour. Absolutely. Of course we're doing this. So we pull up there, we mobile home, we knock on the door. The guy answers the door. He's pretty shocked to see us. Like, we're pretty sure like no one's ever showed up to take a tour before. And again, no exaggeration in the story. He's wearing nothing but a pair of boxer shorts and a white tank top, wife beater shirt with like spaghetti stains on it. He's unshaven. His hair's all frizzy all over the place. I mean, the guy is a mess. And we're like, we're here to take a tour of the well. He's like, huh? What was the sign? Was there a sign? I was like, oh. He goes, Maybell, get out here, girl. And I don't know why they had a southern accent, but he did. It was a southern accent. He's like, get out here, girl. And this girl comes out from the back. She's probably 15 years old. She's wearing a pair of Daisy Duke shorts. She's wearing a flannel shirt, but it's tied up in a little knot right here. She has 2 pigtails, and she's chewing a piece of gum, and she's pulling the gum out of her mouth. Like, as she's doing it, she's like she is the stereotypical old school, like, farmer's daughter, except she's nowhere near a farm. She's like in northern Wyoming. It's like, Maybell, get out here, girl. Give these folks a tour of the well. And she comes out and she says, that'll be $4.50 each for each of you. So I hand her $18 and she says, oh, I said it's going to be $4.50 for each of you. And I said, yeah, there's 4 of us. Here's $18. She said, the sign out front says each of you needs to pay $4.50 if y'all want to take a tour of the well. It's like, oh, okay, Maybell. So we one at a time. I paid, handed the money to the next person. Each person paid, got change. We paid our $4.50 each. She says, all right, y'all come with me. So we follow her to the back of the mobile home. And there's what looks like a typical, like, wishing well sitting in, like, the backyard, like just a regular well. But you can see where it's kind of dug out. And there's like a pathway going down. And we walk down the path. It's like a little ramp that goes one direction and another direction. And it maybe goes down like 15 feet or something like that. Like a pretty impressive depth to dig with your hands. Clearly not the deepest well a human being has ever dug in the history of humans. But we get down to the bottom of the 15 feet, and she looks at us and she says, my great-great-great-grandfather dug this well with his bare hands. Thank y'all for coming. And then disappears. Never see her again. That was our tour. And she left us at the bottom of the well. We're like, what just happened? And the reason why I know her name was, and I remember her name is Maybell, is because I don't know who said it, but we got into the car and we're driving away, and somebody in the car, I think it was Randy, but he looks back and says, someday, Maybell, this will all be yours. So that was my all-time #1 favorite tourist stop ever. Quick aside on that, just for the heck of it, a couple years later, or maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I searched for the world's deepest hand-dug well in Cheyenne, and it turns out there was a news story about it. The father had died. Maybell, although she wasn't called Maybell in the article, but her name was Maybell, and I know this because for years we would always say, someday, Maybell, this will all be yours. But Maybell couldn't afford to pay taxes on the property, and she lost the well. So it no longer exists because Maybell couldn't pay her taxes.
Are you going to be in Finland this year?
Am I going to be in Finland this year? 100% absolutely not. But I'll be there next year. I'm going to be in Europe all of 2023. It's 2022, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
A couple more months.
I'm old. Cut me some slack. No, I'm going to be in Europe all of next year. We're going to start in Croatia in February, and we're going to end in Spain in November. And we're going to do the whole European Pro Tour and PDGA Europe events. And so, of course, I'm going to be in Finland a bunch. And I want to do a bunch of clinics over there, and I want to spend time in Finland. Finland is like disc golf's dream come true. Like, it's what we always wanted disc golf to be, that's happening in America, but I think it's even more so in Finland. And I know there may still be bigger money tournaments over here, but it's also there's 300 and something million people instead of 4 million, right? It's a bigger place. But from what I can tell from everything I've seen, Finland is the epicenter of disc golf, with Estonia and Sweden and Norway like right on its tail, but Finland is the place to be. So I cannot wait to go to Finland and see what this is like. I mean, I've heard about tournaments with like 10,000 person galleries. Jesus Christ, I can't wait.
What year did you get your PDG number?
Oh, probably 1985. 3140 is my number. 1985.
Tell everyone where you got married for the first time.
Where did I get married for the first time? Well, the same place as everybody. Like, it's not that unusual. I'm no different than anybody else when it came to getting married. I take my those things very seriously. So I'm kind of a traditionalist there when I got married the first time. I did it on the tee pad of hole 3 at De La Vega disc golf course right after the second round of the Masters Cup.
Which is
just like everybody. Now it's hole 27, top of the world. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just like everybody, we all get married on disc golf courses after the second round of major tournaments. Duh. By the way, you know where I got married the second time? I got married at the Stanley Hotel, which is the hotel where the Shining takes place at. They don't shoot the movie there, but the story takes place at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. In fact, the ballroom where Jack Nicholson was, or his character in the book, was talking to the ghosts from the past, past murders and all that stuff at the hotel. Well, I got married in that ballroom. So those are my 2 marriages. Good night, y'all. Thank you, Andy Smart. Thank you again for the donation. You don't have to fund me to get over there. If that's what you're talking about, to go over to Finland. I got everything all taken care of. My teaching's doing so well. I don't accept donations of any kind. I don't accept donations for my Blue Power events. I do all that. I do that out of pocket. And in fact, back when I got my stay hydrated, I will. When we got our trailer stolen, people are so kind, and I was so moved by this. But immediately people are like, we need to set up a GoFundMe account for you, because we lost like $20,000 worth of stuff. We lost everything. And people are like, we need to set up a GoFundMe account to raise money for you. And I shut that one down right away, because it would have been incredibly, holy cow, the fireworks? There's fireworks. It would have been very inappropriate of me to be taking donations from people.
So we can see it.
There we go. Because
fireworks over Niagara Falls.
Fireworks over Niagara Falls. How about that? How many of our live streams have fireworks over Niagara Falls?
It's not a Zoom background.
I did that for all of you. You're welcome, by the way.
Wow.
Let's see Paul Macbeth, Ricky Wysocki, and Eagle McMahon do fireworks over Niagara Falls on their live streams. Yeah, I don't think so. This is a classy joint. No, but it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to take the money, because I do really well. That's it. I do really well with my teaching, and there's people that need the money far more than me. So I didn't want the donations. Might as well get married again. Yeah, that ain't happening.
Nope.
What do you think? You want to get married?
Nope.
No. Marriage is not in our future. I'm traveling with my bestest friend, and someone I love to death, and I plan on being with forever, but we ain't getting married. I spend no expense for my fans. In fact, the fireworks are, I said, launch those fireworks as soon as my Tour Series lots became available at scottstokely.net. And, sorry, my Lutes. And my Bergs. And they're available. You can get them signed, scottstokely.net. Limited supply. There were 42 of these. There were 100 of these. And when those are gone, the signed ones are gone, because I'm not there and I can't sign them and be shipping stuff on the road. No, I appreciate. No, and I look when people donate, I don't mind it through my Patreon. The thing about the donations, when people donate because they feel my teachings help them, and I'm producing all this free content on YouTube, and they feel like they want to reciprocate by paying for that information that they got for free, I'm totally cool with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a great way of saying thank you for the things you're doing. I want to give you something for it. That's not the same as donating money to me because something got stolen. I can afford to replace stuff. Favorite tournament to play this year? It's the Skins match to Eagles Crossing. Like, by a very wide margin. I love Lafa. You proposed yesterday. Did I propose yesterday?
To who? Not to me.
Who did I propose to yesterday? I've proposed to a lot of people. I actually, there was a person. I don't want to say who. There was a female disc golfer who was dating someone that I didn't like at all, and I suspected that he was probably reading her. And by the way, don't ask me who it is. I'm not telling you because I'm not trying to bring anyone into the spotlight. But I suspected he was probably the type of person that was reading her Facebook messages. So since I figured he was probably like monitoring her Facebook messages, I used to propose to her all the time. Like I used to write messages where I literally was saying, you know, you need to leave this guy and come with me, with no intention whatsoever of her doing it. I just didn't like him. I shouldn't have shared any of that. That makes me look really bad, doesn't it? I wouldn't have done it. I've never done anything like that. That's a terrible thing to do. But I kind of just wanted to annoy him. So what are you going to do? Let's see. Look at this. Literally fireworks for you guys. Is that crazy? Wait a second. I just thought of something. What if I was to tell you that there were no fireworks behind me, but then when you look at me live into my eyes, if you see fireworks, it means you're in love.
That means you should go buy a disc.
No, I think it means because there's no fireworks. I don't see no fireworks. Where fireworks? There's no fireworks.
Oh, I see fireworks.
I think that's because you're in love.
Oh, I just proved your point.
You just proved my point. See, so if you see fireworks, I think you're in love with me because there's no actual fireworks there, everybody. Let's see. Fireworks are love. Guess I'm in love. Oh, thanks. Spool and bad. By the way, it's of course that's our Kastaplast. Speaking of being in love with me, one of my favorite things is I've had more men in their 60s write me to tell me that their 60-year-old wives have crushes on me. It's amazing. I think
fireworks got bigger.
Look at this. As soon as I said that, what happened? Okay, now I see them too, so maybe I love me too. But I think it's great. And so like I've actually I've to his face, I've told everyone from like Ricky Wysocki to whoever, like, don't even try to go after the 60-year-old female market. Like, they're mine. Those are my people. So not just females, everybody. Don't get all 2022 on me. But I got the market cornered on my older crowd. I'm connecting to my older people because I'm an older people.
If I can watch you play in Iowa in August, will you let me and my son get a picture with you? Of course.
Oh my God! Of course you can get a picture with me. Yeah, 100%. I hope you come out to Iowa. That's great. Don't just watch me. There's tons of great players going to be there. It's great. Hey, you, Jessica just played Lake Stevens. Is that not the funnest course out there? Lake Stevens is so cool. That is like amazing. If you haven't done it, look up, search for Scott Stokely, Lake Stevens. It is the most unique baskets in the sport, and I absolutely love them. Favorite straight mid-range. I like the Truth from Dynamic Discs. They have baskets that don't look like regular baskets. But they're directional. They're all different. So every basket requires a different type of skill set, different angles, different shots, different strategies. They're so much fun. And after having done this for decades, literally like 4.5 decades, the variety of the baskets at Lake Stevens I find to be so neat. It's a great course. I hope they never take those baskets out because, you know, some of the locals don't like them. They're gold. They're so much fun.
Sam Matson was asking about saucer or cone baskets. He says that he thinks Minneapolis Hampton Park has the last one like that. Have you played on those? Yeah,
I played the cone baskets. I love them because by the way, lessons at the Hambrick. Yeah, I have a clinic coming up the night before the Brent Hambrick in Columbus, 2 days before the Brent Hambrick in Akron, Ohio. Both of these are next week. If you go to scottstokely.net, the teaching, my clinics, find my teachings at scottstokely.net. You can sign up for them there. Yes, I'll have discs available at the Hambrick for sure. The cone baskets. Yeah, I love them. I mean, so I don't love them because I prefer the pole holes over them. But the thing that I like about them is they're part of our sports history because we take it for granted this is what baskets are. That wasn't a given. Like, there was no guarantee that that's what baskets were going to look like. In the early days, all sorts of different ideas came about. there were tournaments, big tournaments, where the baskets were like a 3-foot wide circle on the ground that you had to land your disc in. The first tournament I ever played in 1982, we went to Will Rogers Park in just outside, or maybe it was in Santa Monica, but the whole course was light poles with tape around them and trees. One of the holes was you had to land on top of a picnic table. Now, obviously, that was going to change as the sport grew. But the idea of like the conical baskets or Lake Stevens baskets, I mean, all these are part of the history of people innovating, creating new ideas that didn't catch on. But they're fantastic. And so I love that those baskets still exist. I hope they stay in the ground. I don't know that course in particular, but I hope that if they do put in quote unquote real baskets at some point, they find like more challenging pin positions for them and then leave the original course in, or at least 9 of the holes as is, because it's part of our history. Like, so I think it's great that people design those. And by the way, I was friends with Ed. And one of the things that Ed did when he put the chains on the baskets, because chains weren't a given. They could have been cables, they could have been ropes, they could have been all sorts of things that catch maybe just as well. I don't know about better, but other things catch well too. He specifically chose the chains because he felt the audible sound of the disc hitting the chains would be one of the appeals of successfully making the shot. So even the chains with Ed weren't a given. He experimented with different things and went with the chains, but there was no guaranteed chains were going to be a thing.
Don't those cone things make like a bong?
Yeah, they do make a bong sound. Here's the thing about those cone baskets. By the way, instead of chains, there's a plastic that's like the width of the top of the basket, and then at the bottom of the basket, it just goes down. It's like an upside down traffic cone, basically, is what it might look like, but it gets a little bit wider. They don't catch well. If you don't hit perfectly, they ricochet off in whatever direction. But the one thing about those baskets is they're consistent. If me and 1,000 other players throw the same shot and hit the same part of the cone, all 1,000 are going in or all 1,000 are missing, because it's a solid thing, as opposed to the chain baskets, which nowadays they catch pretty well. But in the old days, there was such an unpredictability. 2 players could throw identical putts, but one of them had a slightly different lie, and that identical putt went through the chains, and someone throws the exact same putt that catches in the chains. So there was something to those baskets. They weren't automatically duds. I'm sure they annoy the heck out of the locals, but there's nothing wrong with them.
Are you going to be catching Stokemon anymore this season?
Yes, I just caught Stokemon at
the Celebrity Pro-Am.
At the Celebrity Pro-Am. Yeah, I was invited to the Celebrity Pro-Am. That's going to be coming out on August 20th. I'm not going to spoil this one, but y'all are going to want to watch it. It was another $20,000 skins match. Sound familiar? But this was all for charity. So it was $20,000 raised for charity. There were 8 celebrities, and then the pro disc golfers they invited. Listen to this list: Paul McBeth, Ricky Wysocki, Calvin Heimberg, James Conrad, Jeremy Colling, Katrina Allen, Paige Pierce, and me. That's pretty wild. I love that I was included in it, because it was like a who's who of disc golf, like world champions and celebrities, and then they brought me in, and
it was so much fun.
It was so much fun. But watch the event. I may have played really well. Not going to spoil it though, but I might have played pretty well. My Tour Series Lots is available at scottstokely.net. These flight numbers are the stall flight numbers. They're misprints, so ignore the flight numbers. These are available now at scottstokely.net. I have Tour Series Bergs and Tour Series Lots at scottstokely.net. You can buy the signed version of these now. When those are gone, they're gone, because I'm not in Alpharetta, Georgia. There's only 100 Lutes that are signed, 42 Bergs that are signed. I mean, there's tons of Bergs and Lutes unsigned, but the only signed ones are going to be gone. And they'll sell out for sure. Any chance I'll make it to Western New York area? Yeah. Oh, by the way, can you please bring me a cord to plug in? Western New York, I can throw a frisbee from here to Western New York. It's literally right there. I'm in Western New York right now.
No, you're in Canada.
Well, I'm in Canada. Oh, you're right. Sorry. I'm not in Western New York. I'm in Canada. A sidearm from Western New York. Where in Western New York are you? Message me direct. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. People with Down syndrome are so just wonderful. I mean, like they're the sweetest. Like if you ever have a chance to spend time with someone with Down syndrome, like all you gotta do is like make a sad face and you'll get a hug. Don't be sad and you'll get a hug. And so I would love to do something for them. So message me. I'm in Western New York right now. If it works out, maybe we can put something together. It's short notice. I'm not going to promise it because I got to get back to Columbus. Yeah. But if it happens that I'm in the area and it works, just message me direct. Lutz describes your score. Ron, it's true. It's looking over 300 because of me. You're very welcome. Love it. I can't believe fireworks went off. How great is that? Fireworks. I did a fireworks show just for you all. What am I doing in Canada? Niagara Falls. Yep, there's Niagara Falls right behind me. Yeah, well, we were already close because we were in Columbus, Ohio, and it was we had a couple days off, and Niagara Falls is only like 5.5 hours away.
They were asking if you're coming to Pennsylvania.
I was in Pennsylvania yesterday. I drove right through Erie. Actually, we stayed in Erie.
Yeah, last night.
Yeah, so we passed through Erie, Pennsylvania a little bit. No plans on doing Pennsylvania this year. It doesn't mean I'm not going to set up a clinic passing through there at some point, but my schedule is set through the end of October. And at the end of October, I'm getting on a plane and I'm flying to Australia and New Zealand to golf over the winter. And then I'm going to go play a tournament and plan is to play a tournament in Thailand. And then there's a tournament in Cambodia, which I'm so excited to go play in Cambodia. Last year they had like 30 players. It's perfect. Like it's exciting. And then Europe next year. What's the difference in the fabrics of your shirts? You know, that is a fantastic question. I was not aware they came in different fabrics until people started asking me. But, oh, wait, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I have an answer. I'm going to pretend to sound smart. So I've done a lot of research into this, and I can tell you exactly the difference between the fabrics and the shirts. The difference is...
one of them is recycled.
One of them is recycled. Obviously, of course, I was going to have a recycled shirt, right?
The one called Velocity is the straight up jersey polyester.
Yeah, and then of course I had to do one called the Velocity, which is the jersey. You know, it's like a polyester. It's kind of a standard jersey. I mean, that's a given that I was going to do those two. And then the third one was obvious.
Has a bit of spandex, so it's more stretchy.
So I decided that I wanted something a bit more stretchy. So I put, what did I put in it? Spandex. So I decided, so of course I put spandex in it. Obviously, you got to put spandex in your shirt. So it's like the polyester, but a little bit more stretchy, but definitely not recycled. Unless you're into recycled, in which case. Yeah, those are the shirts that are available. The coolest disc golf shirts in disc golf. It's the Stokely Universe collection. God, that sounds so hoity-toity. I hate the sound of that.
I love it.
You like the sound of the
Stokely Universe collections.
The Stokely Universe collection.
Yeah.
I'm like the Liz Claiborne of disc golf. No?
Maybe with those glasses. Maybe you should
with the glasses.
You look a little
Let's see.
with those glasses.
Talk about the Brent Hambrick Memorial more. That's my local course. Hope to see you play. I was at the Brent Hambrick Memorial in 1993 for, at the time, was probably the most famous shot in the history of disc golf. In the final 9, one of the holes was called the dam hole. You threw from the top of the dam to the basket of hole 2, probably 550 feet or something like that. But you could reach it with a mid-range disc because it was off the dam. It was only the final 9 players that threw this shot. Now, Brent Hambrick came up with the idea of doing something that was almost unheard of. He was like such an innovator. But he actually had somebody film the final 9 and then sold the video of the final 9, right? Like, what? filming disc golf and watching it on film and on video, that's crazy. Who would do that in 1993? Well, Brent did. He was so far ahead of his time. So he had, I'm so sorry, I forget the person's name that did it, but he had somebody in a remote controlled plane with a camera like taped to the bottom of it, fly the course, no drones back then, right? Fly the course to get footage of every single hole that he could splice into the video, just like you see nowadays, just like you see on the PGA Tour, it's the flyovers. Brent did a flyover. Well, Brent and the person, I shouldn't say Brent, the person that shot the video probably came up with the idea, but a flyover for the hole. So anyways, this was on film, and Crazy John Brooks, I did not make the final line. I was on the lead card going into the final day, but I dropped to like 10th or something like that. Still played pretty well for back then. A few years later, I would never have been happy with 10th, but at the time I was pretty happy with 10th place. I was younger. And I'm standing about 20 feet from the hole, and John Brooks throws a white rock, 550 feet, slams chains, dead center. It spit out because Mach 3s spit everything out back then, but it was caught on video. It was the most famous shot in disc golf for many years. Yeah. Oh my God. Here's something else Brent did. I'd never seen this before. Stuff you think about taking for granted. He had a leaderboard, a huge board at Tournament Central with like the top 2 or 3 cards on the board. And because of the shotgun start, meaning you start on any number of holes, after you finished 18, you walked the hole 1, you could see the current scores on the leaderboard. And there was no phones. There was basically no internet that we were using back in 1993. So he had people basically, I don't know how he got the information back, but he had a scoreboard, a giant scoreboard at Tournament Central with, cards. You would slide in the numbers in and out and would move names up and down. So if you were sitting at Tournament Central in real time, you could see on a board what was happening on the course with the top players. Doesn't sound that exciting today. Back then, holy shit, unbelievable that somebody was doing this. That was Brent. Brent was so far ahead of his time. He had $5,000 in added cash in 1993 for the Brent Hambrick Memorial. That was basically the biggest, I think, the most added cash of any tournament in disc golf. The World Championships had more money because there was more players, meaning more entry fees. But I don't think another tournament had $5,000 added cash. That was Brent. Brent was the best. Eagles Crossing, are you playing all 3 days or fewer in October? Well, it depends on how I do the first day. But I have every intention on winning the big money, the biggest money skins match in October. That's all the people that won a OTB skins match this year, plus a couple like wild cards, are going to get to go skins matches and advance to bigger money skins matches. And I will be there. I'll be at Eagles Crossing in October for sure. I have every intention of winning all the skins. Of course I do. You're very welcome for the stories, by the way. I love talking about disc golf. It's the best. All right, so we're starting to wind down a little bit, it looks like. Tour Series looks at scottstokely.net. Tour Series Berg at scottstokely.net. The Lutz is brand new. It debuts tomorrow, technically, but it's available at scottstokely.net today. There were 100 signed Lutz available for purchase. They may be gone now, don't know if they are. There were 42 Bergs signed. There won't be any more signed of these afterwards. Does anybody have any questions about anything? I'll stick around if y'all are interested. Of course, I'm going to get those skins. In fact, the skins already belong to me. They're mine to lose. In my not so humble opinion. Go to East say disc golf to piss the kids off. Well, the thing is, I say frisbee golf because I'm allowed. I grew up playing frisbee golf. I played for 7 years before the bevel edge disc even came out. For those of you that don't know, I played my first round of disc golf on the world's first disc golf course, permanent disc golf course, when it was the only course in the entire world. Basically, there was a piece of ocean about 200 miles off the coast of Madagascar that was 12,500 miles from the nearest disc golf course. I don't know why I came up with that. It happens when I drink coffee. Favorite course in Ohio besides the Hambrick? Well, it's not really Ohio, but the course in Idlewild outside of Cincinnati, unbelievable course. That course is so good. The tournament course at Idlewild, I have it number 4 as far as best courses I've ever played, and it kicked my ass. It's not because I played well there; quite the opposite. It crushed me. I want to play it tomorrow. I know I can beat this course tomorrow. I went to that tournament thinking, like, I really got a shot to win this tournament. Like, I don't see any way I don't shoot 7, 8, 9 under every round on this course. And you have to shoot like 8 or 9 under every round to win. And I looked at that course and I thought, I can execute these holes. I could birdie half the holes on this course for sure. And then it just beat the shit out of me. Not because of bad luck, not because of bad, we had some rain or whatever, but it's like, that's a sign of a good course, that it looks easy and it was hard, because it's not like I played terrible. Like my second 2 rounds, I didn't play too badly. I shot okay. I shot, maybe 10 points under my rating, which is a stroke or 2 below my predicted score. I mean, that falls within the range of average, a little slightly below average. But I was 10 strokes off of that 8 under, and it didn't play bad. Like, that's a good course. Have I played Honey Bear in Peru, Indiana? Of course I've played Honey Bear in Peru, Indiana. I got some trivia for you on Honey Bear. It may be the 3rd course in the entire world. It also may be the 13th course in the entire world, and we are never going to know. So here's the story on this. The world's first course was Oak Grove Park, Pasadena, California, permanent course. Absolutely, positively put that one in stone. That's number 1. It's likely the 2nd course to go on the ground was La Mirada. 97% chance it was La Mirada disc golf course. It may not have been, but probably was La Mirada. But after that, there's about 10 courses that might be the 3rd course that went in the ground. So number 1, Ed didn't keep the best records. So he didn't have records of these things. But also, he was going to parks conventions and trying to sell courses. Well, he was selling courses at different times, going out to design courses at different times. The baskets showed up, got installed at different times. So even if he had kept a record, he might have sold a course, and it's the 3rd course he ever installed, but it might have been the 12th course to actually go into the ground because the park sat on their butts before putting the baskets up. So we don't know, and we're never going to know beyond 2, the first 2 courses, and probably maybe for sure the first, maybe the second one. We're not going to know which courses came 3rd. But Honey Bear is on that list. Palm Springs is on that list. Pueblo, Colorado is on the list. There's a handful of courses, and some of them are now gone. They're not even in the ground anymore. They got pulled since then because nobody was using them. But so Honey Bear may be the 3rd oldest course in the world, but at worst it's like the 12th, somewhere in there.
Doug Adams says he wants to say hi to you at Aussie Nats.
I will be at Aussie Nats, the Australian Championships, of course. Please come out.
And Brandon Gibbs says you're the best Stokely of the Scots.
Oh my God, I'm the best Stokely of the Scots. That's the sweetest thing ever, I think. What if all the other Stokeleys are awful? You actually might be secretly insulting me, like saying, "Oh, you're the best of all the Stokeleys," because you know how those Stokeleys are.
What's your biggest takeaway from the season so far?
The biggest takeaway from season is it's everything I could have possibly dreamed disc golf would become, and it's only getting better. The Disc Golf Pro Tour is absolutely knocking it out of the park on every single turn. I couldn't be any more pleased with what they're doing with my sport. And the players on tour are just knocking it out of the park, not just by excelling in their games, but the professionalism, the fan interaction, there's social media content. Like, these are good kids. Like, I don't, there's no one on tour I don't like. None. Now, I mean, there's people on tour that maybe I have a different personality than. Like, yeah, I'll probably never go to lunch with that guy or something like that. But if we're on the card, we're going to enjoy playing together. And it's not like if I show up at the same time they're starting to practice round, there's nobody that I wouldn't say, hey, can I join you? I won't like sit around and wait for the next group because I don't want to play with that guy. None of that. Everyone on tour is great. All the people, they're all good kids. And by the way, they are all kids. I got 12 years on the next youngest. So my takeaway this year is that I could not be any more pleased with where our sport's going, with the people that are in charge, with the people that are playing, the tournaments, the staff, the spotters, the courses, and it's only going to get better. But it's like the biggest reason I'm on tour right now is because when I saw what was happening to the sport, it appeared to me to be the thing that I always dreamed it could become. And not just me. Everybody that played in the 70s and 80s, we all thought it was going to be like this. We talked about it at lunch. We talked about it at dinner. We talked about it at the players' party. We talked about it barbecuing on Thursday afternoon. We talked about it on the phone. We talked about it when we practiced. We talked about where the sport was going. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing this thing going, holy cow, I think it may be actually happening. And then I said, I just got to be a part of this thing. Like, I'm not in my prime. I'm certainly not as good as I used to be. But I'm not so old that I don't belong out there. I'm like middle of the pack. I'm cashing it about half the tournaments I've played this year on the tour, which is, it's not great, but it's not like, unrespectable. I'm one of the players on tour, one of the average players on tour, basically. But I good enough where I belong. But if I'd waited a few more years, then I'm being brought out because I have a name. I didn't want that. I didn't want to be brought out as some kind of token gesture, like, hey, you earned the right to be here because all the things you've done for disc golf, and we respect you. But I'm 7 strokes behind the last place person. Like, I would never want to do that. So I felt like I needed to go see what I wanted to participate in this thing while I still had a little bit in me. And I was hoping it would be like this. And it was. It's everything I could have dreamed of. It's unbelievable. I mean, I could get emotional talking about it, but I only cry over skins matches.
How did your mom and dad react when you originally told them you wanted to throw frisbees for a living?
Well, my dad passed away when I was 7. So he never got to even, I don't know if he ever even went out to the park. He might have, because he died. He might have actually been there when I was young, but I don't remember if he was. It was right around that time the course went into the ground. My mom always supported it. She never, ever thought it was weird that that's what I was doing. Except my mom and I weren't close because we weren't. And the reason we weren't close is because we have just radically different personalities. I'm like oil and vinegar. We just didn't click. But I respect a lot of the things she did. And here's the biggest thing she did. So I lived in Locking Out of Flint Ridge, which was a very rich, white, conservative, wealthy town. And then at the end of town was Oak Grove Park. Oak Grove Park wasn't in La Cañada. It was in Pasadena. It was on the other side of the road, but it was basically the other side of the tracks. Oak Grove Park was blue collar. It was long-haired hippies. It was people that didn't work. It was people that worked, but they wound down by getting high and getting drunk after work. This was the place where they did it. It was a park where people partied. Now, not everybody that played disc golf in the early days was part of that culture, for sure. There were people that played because they just loved disc golf. They loved disc sports. Absolutely. But the people that were in the park every single day, it was very much a party culture. no other parent, and this is not an exaggeration, no other parent in La Cañada Flint Ridge would ever let their kid go to Oak Grove Park unattended. These were the bad people. And from age 12 on, my mom had no problem with me going to the park by myself every single day. She got to know Bruce Sisson. She got to know Mark Horn, Dan Roddick, Rick Schaefer, Joe Orsino, Jeff Lissaman, Johnny Lissaman, Russ Hamilton, Steve Bentley. You know, she didn't become friends with them, but she became friendly with them when she was around, and she trusted them. She trusted them with her only child, that they weren't going to harm me. And she knew they were partying. She knew they did drugs. She wasn't stupid, but she knew these were good men, that they were just part of a different culture that wasn't the culture of La Cañada Flint Ridge. She let me play every day. And because she let me play, I got to excel at this game. Because if I only got to go play twice a week supervised when she had time, it would have been an enjoyable hobby, but I certainly wouldn't have gotten good, would never have gotten great. I was able to get good because Mom looked past the long hair, the tie-dyed shirts, the Budweisers in their hands. She looked past all that. So to her credit, she allowed me to be raised by the Oak Grove Gophers, and I think I turned out pretty damn good because of it. No other parent in La Cañada Flint Ridge would have done that. That's God's honest truth. So that's how she reacted to it. So I don't think she understood it. I don't think she ever understood it. But she respected that it was important to me and that the people I was with were great. How about that? How about that going off the getting serious there for a minute? And how come I'm not playing the Masters in Korea? I would crush it. Well, because I was at Idlewild. And my focus this year, Idlewild was going to conflict with it. I was going to have to show up there and not get a chance to practice the courses. I wasn't going to be prepared. And my focus this year was the Pro Tour. And basically I said, I'm doing the Disc Golf Pro Tour. That's what I'm doing this year. And I didn't want to sidetrack from that. So I'm not playing Solinsky or Masters Worlds. I'm playing just open tournaments this year. We'll cross those other bridges at some point in the future. Maybe not. I don't know. But this year I'm an open player only.
Do you have any stories about Daryl Nodlin?
Oh, God. Yes, I got lots of stories about Daryl Nodlin. Okay, so first off, Daryl Nodlin in the entire sport of disc golf is the greatest disc golfer that none of you have ever heard of, with the exception of the person who asked if I had any stories about Daryl Nodlin. This is how good Daryl Nodlin is. Not that many years ago, he was a 1030-something rated player. Okay? He's 1030-something rated. He's 45 years old. He spent 6 months out of every year as a geologist in South America, not golfing. He didn't tour. He only played little local events. And he was 1030-something rated. And Daryl was not good at putting. I mean, you know, compared to a pro, I competed against Daryl constantly in the 90s. You know, compared to the amateurs in town or the advanced players, the MA1 players, he would be considered a good putter. But compared to like a top pro putter, he fell short. So picture a player who's not good at putting, who was a 1035 rated player. He was probably the best, and by the way, no sidearm either. He's probably to this day the best backhand driver possibly to ever play disc golf, and still probably top 20 all time as a player, and you've never heard of him. He didn't care. I mean, one little stat on Daryl was he used to go to the USDGC. I think he's number 2 at the USDGC in average finishes behind Ken Climo, and no one knows who he is. Daryl is unbelievably talented and good, but he had his priorities, different priorities in life. By the way, it's so annoying when someone is that much better than you at an aspect of the game and that it's not even their priority in life.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, Daryl's the best.
How many aces do you have, and do you have like the most memorable one?
So My most memorable. So I don't have a lot of aces because aces are accidents, especially if you throw hyzer. If you throw a straight shot or an anhyzer that flexes out, you can have a pretty good drive that's a few feet high that goes in. You can get aces. But if you throw mostly hyzers, aces are going to be rare, because if I throw a 300-foot hole, let's say it's short hole, an aceable hole, a 250-foot to 300-foot hole, the type of hole that gets aced a lot, I'm not aiming for the basket. I'm aiming like 30 or 40 feet short to the side of the basket. Well, an ace would have hit 10 feet long of the basket because, it went across the chains. I would have to miss a 300-foot hole by 40 feet for it to accidentally ace on a hyzer shot. So as a good player throwing hyzer shots, I'm not going to get many aces. And back in the early days when almost nobody but me, and by almost I mean nobody on tour but me, threw sidearm, every other player in the tournament threw anhyzers on half the holes. Of course, they got way more aces. I was never getting aces because I was throwing backhanded sidearm hyzers. So I don't get aces. Now, my most memorable ace is probably in the final 9 at the Kansas City Wide Open. I got an ace on hole 2, which is a pretty long hole, like 360 feet, with an X-clone. I did it in the final 9 in front of the gallery. It's probably my biggest one.
Number one advice for somebody trying to take the game more seriously?
Have every shot. Number one absolutely tops every other part of the game. You have to do everything. Backhand, sidearm, short putt, long putt, thumber, tomahawk, scuba, rollers, grenades, spike hyzers, like scuba, you have to have every single shot. When you step up to a hole, there's a correct way to throw that hole in almost every case. And if you don't have every shot, you're having to throw the second or the third best option on a hole. Well, if you have to throw the second best option on a hole and your competition gets to throw the best option on a hole, you're going to lose to them more often than not. So you got to have every single shot in your game.
Wilbur Wallace?
Wilbur Wallace. Stories about Wilbur Wallace? Mm-hmm. So I knew, Wilbur, of course. I knew Old Man and Mom. They were probably the most prolific volunteers in the history of disc golf. And I hesitate to say this because there's so many people that have dedicated countless hours volunteering. I don't think Old Man or Mom would have liked to have been put above all the other volunteers, because they were very kind and humble people that wouldn't have wanted that. But I think they maybe best represent the volunteers that are out there, because they would drive to tournaments just to spot, just to volunteer. They would show up at tournaments and say, what can we do? Where do you need us? We're not here to volunteer. We're not here to spot. We're not here to check scorecards. We're here to help you run your tournament. What can we do to help? And so Wilbur was the son of them, who carries on their legacy. He's a great man. I'm a big fan. I don't know him well as far as stories. I would say maybe to his credit, there's not a lot of stories about him. Most of the best stories come from the people who are the most troubled, like really well-adjusted, normal people with a 2-parent household that were raised well. And like, most of those people don't have the best stories. They might be happy, they might be healthy, might be successful. Probably not the best stories coming from healthy people.
Well-behaved people don't make history. And women, that was a quote from somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Riley Manderscheid.
I love.
See his comment?
Let me see. I love Riley.
But I thought I was number 2 at being number 2.
Yeah, Riley is one of my bestest friends from the old days. By the way, Riley is another person. Remember I said that my mom got to know the Oak Grove Gophers? Riley got to know my mom, Charlotte, actually probably as well as anybody. Riley used to come over to the house and we would play cards and hang out at my house, and my mom would cook us food. Riley was one of the original Oak Grove Gophers too. And just an example of another great person that he could attest to this, that the people in La Cañada might have like raised an eyebrow at. He was also a hell of a baseball player. And it turned out the house he grew up in was about 40 feet from the house I grew up in. Just complete coincidence. Let's see. They aren't trick shots. They're New Year's shots. Yeah, there's no such thing as, these aren't trick shots. Thumbers, tomahawks, scoobers, rollers, grenades, turbo putts aren't trick shots. They're less frequently used shots. They're not trick shots. Let's see. Not like Mitch Mac stories. Yeah, thank you, Riley. My mom really cared about you too. She thought the world of you. Yeah, she was great. You remember though, she could be a little grumpy, little bit of anxiety there. I like the K3 Berg. I'll go ahead and plug it since you all are in here. Go to scottstokely.net. Tour Series Lutz. Now available. That's the disc I'm throwing for almost all my highs and flips. This is an amazing disc. By the way, if you want a disc that flies far with little effort, like if you're not throwing fast enough to throw a double-digit speed disc, the Lutz flies just about as far as anything in that 300 to 400 foot power range, or maybe even like the 275 to 350 foot range. At that speed, nothing flies farther than a Lutz. Now, I'm not going to say the Lutz flies farther than anything in that speed, because there's other discs that also fly far, but it doesn't get outdistanced at those speed. You can get this one autographed at scottstokely.net. You can get the Berg autographed at scottstokely.net. Those are discs that will run out, the signed ones anyways. I have 100 Lutz. I have 42 Bergs. Well, I had, and they're going to be gone. And when they're gone, I won't be signing discs for a while. Would today disc help his distance? Yeah, for sure. A player like Jeff Lissaman, a lot of the players. So here's the thing about the players of the 80s and 90s. Their games were developed for the courses they played on. And that's not wrong. Like, in fact, it's the opposite. It's right to develop a game for the courses that you played on. But even with the extra distance, very few players from that era would even be remotely competitive in today's game because of the distance is an issue. I mean, it's not that today's a power game, it's that everybody throws far. Like, you can't compete if you're not throwing comfortably 450 off the tee pad, and you need to be able to get over 5. And that, by the way, if you're throwing 450 comfortable golf shots and getting up to 5, you are at a competitive disadvantage when you're doing that. That's like a bare minimum. That's just the reality. If you can't do that, you're going to struggle. There are courses out there now where all the par 3s are like 400 feet or more, 400, 430, 470, and the 400 feet might be 370 to clear the water or clear the OB. It wouldn't be physically possible to compete. But the players didn't develop the games, the types of games. They developed the skill of throwing 250-foot wood shots. So the question is, if you took that player and you postponed their birth for 20 years and they started playing in today's era, how good would they be? Then you just have a debate, like in every other sport, about the modern athlete versus the older athlete, right? Like every single basketball player from the 70s, none of those players could compete in today's game with the bodies that they had, because they weren't lifting weights. They would get the shit beat out of them. They would be injured. They would get clobbered on the courts. However, I'm not saying those players couldn't compete. The question is if they played in today's game, would they have done the things with their diet and the working out and lifting weights and built stronger? But probably. And so it doesn't mean that they couldn't compete in today's game. It means in those old forms, they would have a hard time being competitive in the modern game. But they probably would have changed that. Of course they would have changed that. So these are just, by the way, this is just like every other sport. We debate these things all the time. Babe Ruth versus, Albert Pujols, right? Like comparing them. It's just talk. Huntington Beach Disc Golf Monthly, Jeff Lissman, Ron Walt, and John Ahart, their style wasn't as refined. It was right for its time, though. There were 230-foot, 240-foot holes. It was like 100% a game of finesse. Power was irrelevant back then. Even if there was one hole, if there's one hole out of 18 that's longer, and by longer I mean 430 feet or something like that, one hole out of 18, it didn't even count. It was the game of finesse. It was who was the best finesse player. That's what disc golf was in the 80s and even the 90s. Top finesse players. Ron Venturelli. Ron Venturelli was so great. Ron Venturelli went to the World Championships with 2 discs. Took second place. That happened in the 80s. 80, not 85 Tulsa, 86 Charlotte, maybe? I think it was. Yes, my Tour Series lots have misprinted numbers. They're all misprinted numbers on this run of 3,000 of these I ordered, and they have the flight numbers of the stall. They're collector's items. Let's see. My favorite golfer to play with. There are so many golfers out there that are fun to play with. Every time I'm asked to choose this, it's so difficult. I'm probably going to fall back on the 4 players that I haven't yet got to play with. The 4 best players on tour. And I probably played with most of them too. I wouldn't even know how to start. And I'm not trying to dodge the question. I don't have any standout players. I like them all. I true. The Lombard course was pretty brutal. Yeah, except by today's standards, you look at it now, it's like, it is a finesse course. When everybody throws 500 feet, like, it is a finesse course. You could reach holes with arrows and aviars. If you can reach a hole with an arrow, it's a finesse hole. I haven't played Dickerson. I have played with Dickerson. He's fantastic. Nobody's better than you, Riley. Riley Manderscheid first. No, Dickerson's fantastic. He's really cool kid. Actually, him and his wife are really cool. They're both great. I like them a lot.
We were on the same card at Texas State. No, at Waco.
Yeah, was it Waco?
It was at Waco.
Yeah, it was at Waco. I played the first round and I played really well. So on the second round, I was playing with some guy named James Conrad, some guy named Chris Dickerson, and I played poorly. It's one of these weird things. Like, I haven't put together 3 rounds yet this year. I played like a 1043 rated round the first round. It's a really good first round. In howling wind, it was like 28 degrees wind chill factor, and I shot a 1043 rated round. And then it was beautiful on Saturday, and I shot like a 980. And then it was howling winds again, 20-mile-an-hour winds on Sunday. I shot a 1030 something. So 2 of my 3 rounds were like 1040 something and 1030 something. If I put together a third one of those, it's like a top 8 finish, top 6 finish. So I did 2/3 of putting together a top 6 finish, but I couldn't get all the way. Sugar Hollow in Virginia. Sugar Hollow was a fantastic course. I did the pros versus the Joe versus the pros, pro versus Joes. That was with Josh Basinger. God, Josh Basinger. I could almost put Josh onto my list of top favorite people to play with. He was absolutely one of my favorite people I've gotten to know since playing this sport. By the way, before I leave, I will give you my list of 3 people that on my dream card. I don't want to dismiss it. Who was it just recently? I said that was so much fun playing with. What? There was somebody recently that I played with that I loved. I like playing with everybody, but there was someone recently that I was like, that was rad.
I don't remember. I
can't think of it either. How about this? I got it. What? I love playing. There we go. Bradley Williams. Here's my current dream card. It's going to change tomorrow. We're going to go Bradley Williams out of Texas. I absolutely love. I've got to go Simon Lizotte because Simon's the jam, and Jennifer Allen. I've become a huge fan. I've gotten to know Jennifer. better this year than ever before, and I think the world of her. So like those are the 3 people on my card. But if you ask me tomorrow, it'll be 3 other people. Who's my GOAT? I dodged that question like a bullet. I mean, we're talking about different eras. So like actually naming that is, players develop their games for different eras. I mean, the best player, obviously in my time, was Ken. That goes without saying. And in the modern game since then, I mean, obviously no one's done what Paul's done. I will tell you this: the sport evolves. All sports evolve. Not acknowledging that the sport has gotten better and players have gotten better would be a true insult to the sport. To say that the players in the modern era aren't better than they were a generation before, that'd be shitting all over the sport. Like, our sport hasn't evolved. Like that's what you're saying if you're saying that. So the players of today are better. The fields are deeper. We're playing championship courses now. It's just a different ball game. There's so many top players that our sport's evolved. But by the way, same in any sport. Hoist Gracie was an incredible mixed martial artist, but Hoist Gracie in 1993 would not be in the UFC, in my opinion. I don't think he is good enough to even to win matches against the modern UFC fighters, because the fighters, the sports evolved so much, and there's no such thing as one-dimensional fighters anymore, and they're all complete. And the training techniques and the training camps they have, they're not just learning from their family one style, they're actually bringing in the best wrestling coaches and the Muay Thai coaches and the boxing coaches, and they have dietitians, and they got better steroids now that they can fool Asada with. And it's like the Hoist Gracie of back then doesn't compete today, in my opinion. Even though I would put Hoist Gracie on my Mount Rushmore of combat sports athletes, UFC fighters, whatever you want to call it. So our sports evolved, my opinion. Anderson Silva's UFC GOAT. Apparently never heard of George St. Pierre. Ugh. I got a GSP as my GOAT. But that's just my opinion. All right. As a 52-year-old, awesome. I appreciate that so much. I love representing my older friends. The older people are the ones I've connected with the most. I mean, I probably could have predicted that would happen this year, but I've been shocked by how many people who are older have reached out to me, and it means the world to me, and I hope I represent all of you well. I'm not out there to get participation ribbons. I'm still being competitive. I had obviously the Eagles Crossing was a great outing. The Celebrity Pro-Am I did pretty well at. You'll have to watch that. So, how would the modern player fare using discs that I started out with? They would do fantastic with the discs I started out with, because they're great athletes and they're great disc athletes. They wouldn't throw as far, but that's because the discs didn't fly as far. But they would have no problem going back in time throwing the new discs. They would have absolutely no problem adapting to the new plastic.
You're gonna be at Ledgestone.
Of course I'll be at Ledgestone. I'm going to win Ledgestone. Just don't tell anybody, because I got in trouble for spoiling Eagles Crossing. So don't tell anybody. This is between me and the 85 of you. But I'm going to win Ledgestone this year. Let all the kids have their fun fantasizing about winning Ledgestone this year. But by the way, I believe this 100%. I've never once, if I ever for a second didn't believe that I was going to win a tournament, that I don't belong in that tournament. Now, it's so far this year I've turned out to be wrong every time. But I think I'm going to win the Brent Hambrick this weekend. So I do think I'm going to win. Avathon Vibram, yeah. First off, I like Steve Dodge a lot. Steve Dodge is a great guy. Anybody that's ever shit on him in social media does not even have a clue how much time and effort he has given into building this sport and making it what it is. I think it's disgraceful, because he has done so much. He's made mistakes, He's not like perfect. But last I heard, neither was I, neither was the person making the comment. But the amount of things Steve has done for the sport and given to the sport is beyond words. Like we owe Steve Dodge for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Literally, we owe Steve for that. So I love Steve Dodge, and Steve Dodge created Vibram discs. I've thrown them. I have not really put much time into them though, but they're probably great. Hello, Finmetrical. I'm guessing you're new. Let's just start the whole thing over now that you're here. I've just been killing time till you got here.
But they missed the fireworks.
You missed the fireworks. I had fireworks going on beyond me, by the way. See that red back there? That is Niagara Falls. I'm in a hotel room on the 12th floor overlooking Niagara Falls. Canada. And I shared this earlier, but I probably have mostly new people here. Here's the greatest thing. I love the absurdity of this because I play Frisbee for a living. And for 40 years, I played in obscurity. I slept in rest areas. I ate at gas stations. I slept at people's floors. There were some years in the 90s where I did really well running clinics and working with Discraft. But for the most part, I've been a struggling disc golfer paying my dues for my entire life. All of a sudden, within the last couple of years, I started making really good money. And so here I am in Canada at a hotel on the top floor, as in you take the elevator up to one floor, it stops on the 10th floor, and then you got to go take a separate elevator special for us special people that have the executive suites on the 11th and 12th floor that you need to, like, you know, apparently we don't want to rub elbows with the common people or something, but for whatever reason, the elevator don't go up here, the normal elevator. And here I am overlooking the falls with like the best seat in the house. And I'm like, this is from playing Frisbee. Like, I cannot believe this is happening. I can't believe it's happening to me, but I don't mind. I'm enjoying every minute of it because I know for a fact that I paid my dues for so long and struggled. And now that like I can actually sit here and get a hotel room on the top floor overlooking Niagara Falls is like I'm mind blown by the whole thing. So I put the camera up here so y'all can see because I'm just sharing it. Oh, the discs. Hey, my Tour Series Lutz is available at scottstokely.net. It debuts tomorrow, but you can buy it today. And the Tour Series Berg, well, all my Tour Series discs are there, but the Tour Series Berg, I signed 42 of these when I was in Georgia. I signed 100 of these when I was in Georgia. As long as they're available, you can buy the signed version of these at scottstokely.net. The signed versions don't cost more, by the way, but they're going to be rare. And the Lutz has the stall flight numbers on it. It's a misprint. And I have 3,000 misprint Lutz. But if you get a Lutz, they're misprints, they're a collector's item. How do I feel about how the season's going? Love seeing you out there. Yeah, I love how the season's going as far as tour and where disc golf is. I am not happy with how I've played. And when I look back at this and I go big picture, I'll probably be very proud of the fact I've raised my rating from 991 to 1,004, which doesn't mean I'm shooting 1,004 because it's taking my previous 12 months of ratings and calculating those in, weighted recently, but it's calculating. But to raise to 1,004, I'm having to shoot 1,010, 1,015. I'm 52 years old. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Like big picture, I'm going to look back and be proud of it. But right now, in the middle of the season, I'm here to win. I'm not here to participate. And so because I'm here to win, I'm disappointed in how I'm performing on the course. It's not what I'm trying to. I'm trying to win. You know, if I get a couple top 4 finishes, I'm going to be disappointed because I'm not here for top 10 finishes. I'm here to win. That doesn't mean when I look back, I wouldn't be very proud of a top 4 finish. I'm sure I would be. I'm sure I will be. But if I'm satisfied and proud of that now, then that is not the mindset to win a sporting event. So I am not satisfied with anything less than winning as far as the competitive part of my game. But that doesn't mean I'm disappointed in the season as a whole because I love where the sport of disc golf is going and it's great. Okay, your evolution makes you frisbee goat. Got to run. Cheers. I appreciate that. I unfortunately will never be. You can call me the disc golf instructor goat. I will take that. I would take the term sidearm goat, but as far as actual frisbee goat or disc golfer goat, I am far from that. I wish I wasn't. I wish I was, but I'm not. I won the greatest thing ever, which was Eagles Crossing, and proves I'm still able to hang. Yeah, no, I'm so proud of that. I'm super proud of Eagles Crossing. The thing that made me proud is it's not like, it's not one of those weird things that it can happen in skins where, all the good players were pushing, and then I snuck in on like one hole where I parred and everybody threw out of bounds. I made 2 clutch putts on the 8 skin buildup to help carry the skin over. So I participated in making clutch shots to keep the skins going. And then the one that I won on was a birdie on a hole that had never been birdied in tournament play. So I didn't back into it. I earned it. And I'm incredibly proud of that. And as far as the playing part, I couldn't be any more proud of that. I mean, I'm super, super proud of that. I want to win a DGPT event this year. Thank you, Riley. The one thing that's holding me back from getting that lead card in the final round. So I fixed my putting. The last 2 times I was able to track my putting, I was 10th at the Dynamic Discs Open, and I was 16th at Masters Cup in Circle 1X putting. That is by far the most important putting stat. Circle 1X trumps everything. So the putting's good. I have plenty of power. I throw backhands farther than 80-something% of the players on tour. I throw sidearms farther than 95% of the players on tour, so I have the power. I'm not executing drives at a high enough level. My drives have been in the 50th and 60th range, which in a Disc Golf Pro Tour event with 120 players isn't that shabby. It's like, that's got me in the pack. Like, it's certainly better than a lot of players out there who are on tour making a living disc golfing, but it's not up there with the top players. That's the thing holding me back. The thing is, I was able to take 2 weeks off and fix my putting. That's a mechanical broken thing, but I don't think there's anything to fix on my driving. Doesn't mean it's as good as it can be, but I don't know what I would change. I believe my mechanics are good, my timing's good, my shot selection's good, my strategy's good, my wind play's good. I don't know what thing I would correct. So I think my only choice with the driving is just to keep at it and hope it comes together. Probabilities dictate that you have good days and bad days, like Waco. I had a 1040 something round and a 1030 something round. Well, already this year I had like a 1068 round. Had that 1068 round happened in the middle of those 2 rounds, I think I win that tournament. Now, that's a couple big ifs, but it means I have scored high enough rated rounds. They have come at not the right time, but probabilities dictate that if you keep doing this, eventually those good rounds will stack up together, and I will have a good weekend. So I still think that's going to happen, but I wouldn't know what to change to make it happen. Let's see. Hello, Michelle Wade. Hello. Have I ever been in a playoff and you are cooked from the round and understand why stamina is? If you've ever been in a playoff and you're cooked from the round, you understand why stamina is important. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. I'm in the best damn shape of my life. I am in such good shape right now. I don't get fatigued, except when I have E. coli. That's understandable, when I found out that I was dealing with E. coli, that explained my fatigue. Other than that, I have felt great. Hey, I'll let y'all in on a secret, though. I am partnering with Disc Golf Strong, and we are about to announce a disc golf fitness class. Disc Golf Strong is all focused on strength and flexibility and mobility specific to disc golf movement and throwing. My disc golf teaching is about the mechanics, psychology, strategy, specifically about disc golf. But we are collaborating on a disc golf fitness class that's going to be simply about fitness, diet, exercise, lifestyle, health, about changing lifestyles. And part of the theme of this is I'm 52 years old. I feel better than I've ever felt. I'm not getting injured. I'm healthy. I'm motivated. I'm strong. I feel good every single day. But this has come from making lifestyle changes, to get here. A couple of years ago, I was not in as good a shape as I am. Well, I mean, 8 or 9 years ago, I made some big changes like, hey, stop doing drugs, dummy. Maybe that'll help. But even when I stopped doing that, I was certainly healthier than I was when I was doing the drugs, but I wasn't like super in shape. I've made those changes. And so what I want to do, and I approach Seth with, is the idea is, what if I help people kind of get onto the same path I've gotten onto? Not trying to be an expert. It's not a diet. It's not a workout plan. It's basically a 3-month program where we step by step ease people into the life that I'm living, because I'm not dieting. I'm not starving myself. I'm not going to the gym 6 days a week. I'm not doing anything that sucks. And I'm feeling better than I ever have. So that's what we're going to be announcing. So keep that under wraps, but you'll be hearing about that soon. Oh, by the way, I got off on a tangent there. The point of that is I'm not fatigued at the end of the round. If I had to play 2 rounds, I'd play 2. My arm's not sore. My body's not sore. My legs aren't tired. I'm not out of breath. I'm in really good shape. What business ventures do I have going on to fund my lifestyle allowed to be on the road? I'm an international arms dealer. Someone's going to clip that and put that on.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm now on TMZ. Great. Oh, in fact, I'm in Canada. I better get back to the US before they don't let me back in. Why would I do that? Live stream. Great. No, so I have tons of disc golf ventures. I got my online 6-month class that I'm teaching. I do a seminar, a full day seminar just about every Monday after the class. After the tournament. I do 1 or 2 clinics, group clinics every week. So those are big ones. I have my tour series discs that come out. I have my YouTube channel that pays. I do Cameo. I have residual book sales. I have barbecue sauce about to come out. I'm about to come out with a chip that goes on the bottom of the disc that will, it doesn't come, you don't attach to the bottom of the disc. We'll be selling the disc with the chip attached, but that chip will track acceleration, velocity, wobble, nose angle, rotation in one throw, and extremely accurately. I'm a 50% partner in that. I'm in development with a video game right now. That's probably 4 or 5 months out, but I believe we have our investor and we're good to go.
Did you say shirts yet? Oh,
I have a clothing line that just debuted. Yeah, I got my hands in everything. I actually am talking to someone now about having a training net that's coming out. So I'm so actively involved in the business side of this. It's unbelievable. But the core of my income comes from my teaching. I do a lot of teaching. Like way more than anybody else out there by a lot. So yes, secretly with the CIA, but it tells they have to kill you. I would never kill anybody unless you told people. Yeah, that shirt is cool, right? You should see me 30 years ago. I was hyper but not focused. Now I'm incredibly focused. Well, one of the things, I'll let you all in on another secret since you stuck around for so long. One of the secrets is I have one person in my life who is full-time that works on my promotions and brand and logistics for the business. I have 3 part-time people that help me, or that are basically involved in brand building. And every single business venture I mentioned, with the exception of the teaching, are all partnerships. I won't do anything solo. I won't order discs and put them in envelopes and ship them. I have a person that does distribution out of a warehouse. I have somebody that developed that chip. I have a game developer developing the game. I have a company making the barbecue sauce. Distribution happening in different cities. Everything is partnerships. So I actually have an entire industry being built around me. And one of the primary goals of all these people, especially the people that are involved in the brand building, is that I have a whole bunch of people that work really hard to help me create a brand that is a guy traveling around the country playing disc golf, shooting selfies. But the reality is I have a whole team of people that I've built over the last 2 years. And as soon as I started building a team and surrounding myself with really smart people that were better at certain things than I was, that's when my business started to grow. So my focus is on branding myself, specifically teaching, developing business ideas, marketing, that promotions. That's the whole thing I do. But then I let all the pieces get run by other people around me. But like I literally have an industry that's being built around my name, or not being built, that I am building around my name. By the way, you know why I'm doing this? Anxiety. It's all about anxiety, because a couple years ago I was 50 years old and I didn't have 50 cents in the bank. And I was like, uh-oh. Like I got energy and motivation to do something now, but I'm not that far off from not having what it takes to like be building and growing a business. At some point I'm going to, it needs to be there. And if it's not, I'm screwed. So I have a lot of anxiety over getting older and not being in a position to live a life I want to live. So a lot of the stuff, it's not an unhealthy anxiety, but a lot of this is anxiety driven. I worked really hard because, I don't have a whole lot of these years left where I have this level of energy. Let's see. Remember when we had a bad shot, we'd yell, Riley. I do remember that. I believe Jeff Lissaman started that one, by the way. Let's see. Yes. Have I dabbled in course design? I haven't, but that's because the amount of income I would make relative to the time put in isn't the best use of my time. When I do a full day seminar, I do 6 people for $400 a piece. So like when I do a seminar, I make $2,400 a day on a seminar. If I spent 20 days on a course, I'd have to make $48,000 to make the same amount of money that I could by doing those 20 seminars, and nobody's paying me that amount of money to go out there and spend 3 weeks on a course, which isn't even that much time to properly build a course. So it's not that I think the course design is not a viable option. It's a great business option for someone to get into, but it's not the best use of my time. When can you all buy stock? Oh, I can't wait to when I go public. That's going to be great. Not yet though. Let's see. If you leave the sport, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people that show up to sports like discuss? Like, what do I want to be known for when I leave the sport? I want to be known.
Who said you're leaving the sport?
Is that if I leave the sport? Well, I'm gonna die someday. Rumor has it.
No, you're not. You're freezing your head.
Oh, that's right. I'm not gonna die because
You're not allowed to.
I am a card-carrying member of the International Society of Skeptics. I don't believe in pseudoscience. I debunk. I believe in randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies are the only effective way to know if something works. I am a rational, critical thinker. There's just one gray area, which is I think there's hope for cryogenics. I truly think. And maybe this is just me clinging to some hope of not dying someday, but I think that I can freeze my brain someday and be brought back to life in a robotic body. There, I said it. And I think I'm a crazy person. But aside from that, if I do leave the sport someday and the cryogenics tank cracks and oxygen gets in and I rust, I think if there's something I want to be known for is that the list of things that I was the first person to do in this sport is extremely long. Whether it's the first person to travel around the country doing throwing clinics, to the first person to buy a house because they had a tour series disc, to the first person to do teaching lessons online, full day seminars. I traveled around the country doing special needs clinics, first person to do that. I was the first person to do mystery boxes on a disc golf store. If I had to rattle them off, I could probably come up with like 15 things that I was the first person to do in disc golf. And every single one of them, people have followed behind me and made money off of, which is exactly what I want to happen. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I've created all these different business models. By the way, traveling double series, those traveling trilogy challenges, I started that. It's called the Discraft Double Series. The first team in disc golf. There were some sponsored players here and there. They weren't getting a whole lot, but the first team was the Discraft team. I created that. So anyways, I innovated all these different things that are now part of the sport, and I absolutely love that I was able to create revenue streams for all these other players. And that doesn't really look good on, like, I don't know how you would phrase that on a tombstone or something like that. But the legacy of people getting to make a living doing disc golf, and so much of that came from things that I started, and I'm very, very proud of that. All my special needs work, I'm extremely proud of as well. That's something that matters a lot to me. So probably those two things. As far as a competitive player, I would like to be known as the greatest distance thrower that ever lived, because I had the Guinness World Record for the backhand. I broke my record for the backhand. I had the world record for the world's fastest throw, and the world record for the longest sidearm. And nobody's had both of those things, certainly not all three of those. So that doesn't mean I'm the greatest distance thrower of all time, but like, you can't leave me out of the conversation. And so, I don't know if Ty Cobb was the greatest batter of all time. It could have been Ted Williams. It could have been whoever, right? But you can't have the conversation without including Ted Williams or Ty Cobb in it. And so as long as I'm always in that conversation as the greatest distance thrower, that's as a player, probably what I would like to be, there. I just want to be in the conversation. You don't have to choose me. Just don't forget about me. How do you coach for that to throw backhand without being too annoying? Well, it depends if they want to be coached. If they don't want to be coached and you're trying to coach them, you are being annoying. Stop it. Not everybody wants to learn. If they do want to be coached, and you're annoying, that's their problem. They want help. They need that. That's like on them. My rule is I never approach anybody to help them. I'm not, because I don't want to help people, because it's just that it's never been a good reception when I've offered to help somebody that didn't come to me. They sometimes don't want to be helped. And even if they are receptive to the help, if I come to them, they never change their shots because I helped them. So I've never found it useful until someone came to me and asked me to help. You live on SSI and food stamps due to kidney failure. You turned 30 this Thanksgiving, so I've been doing what I can to rep myself as well as AGL. Yeah, here's the thing about, and sorry about the kidney failure. That is a drag, especially young, right? That sucks. The thing about disc golf is there are so many different ways to monetize the sport. Like, I can tell you right now that you could go out and start running amateur leagues, give out prizes instead of cash because it's an amateur league, and sell custom discs for your league, and you'll make a shit ton of money. And I don't mean a shit ton of money at the expense of other people. I'm saying you're going to be running a little business there. You'll go out, every week. I would say a shit ton of money, but you might go out and make, an extra $500 a week or something, right? Like, hardly enough to live off of, but if you're already able to live, an extra $500 a week is fantastic. I don't know how that works with like SSI and food stamps or taxes and all that. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's ways to make money. Once you start running that league on Tuesdays, set something up, put another course on Wednesday, another course on Thursday, and then get yourself a little trailer where you have discs for sale in the back, and you go from course to course and then run 4 or 5 leagues a week, and you'll make 7 times as much money as SSI and the food stamps. Now, I'm not saying I don't know your health situation. Maybe you can't do that, in which case, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and say, I just don't understand. But the point is that if you're into disc golf, there's ways to monetize it that don't involve playing. There's so many ways to make money off disc golf. Besides competing, prize money is doesn't matter. You can make a living. Anybody can make a living in this sport now. It's a several $100 million industry. You can go get your $200,000 a year piece of the pie. It's there. What tournament am I most looking forward to this year? The World Championships. Which one do I think I have the best chance at? I can't say which one I'll have the best chance at, but the one I'm looking forward to the most is the World Championships. I want to win the World Championships. In men's pro open, I finished second place twice. That's my unfinished business. The three things I wanted to do as a player in the sport is I wanted to win the World Distance Championships, which I did in 91, and then a bunch of times after that. I wanted to set the world distance record, which I did multiple times. And I wanted to win the PDGA World Open Championships, which I finished second place twice. So if there's any unfinished business, that would be it. I know it's a long shot, but I'm going there to win. As far as what I think I have the best chance at, I mean, I don't have a great chance at all of them while simultaneously thinking I'm going to win every one of them. I'm not sure. I think that I throw far enough so distance isn't an issue, you know. So I think I have a reasonable. I mean, I think I have a similar shot at all of them. I mean, I really do. I will tell you that Maple Hill lines up really well for me. I think Maple Hill is really good. So if I had to pick one, I'm going to go ahead and say Maple. But that's only because I've played that course. There's other courses I haven't played that maybe favor me even more. What?
Disc.
What's the question?
Disc, shorter disc.
Plug the discs. Oh, yeah. If you go to scottstokely.net, the Tour Series Lutz is available with the Kastaplast stall flight numbers incorrectly stamped on there. It's a misprint. This disc is now available. If you haven't thrown the Lutz, it's slightly understable. It's a 9-speed. It flies really far at medium speeds. You don't need to smash it. You don't need to smash this disc. All you need to do is give it a little bit of pop with a slight hyzer. It turns up flat and it sails. I'm telling y'all, this is a great, great, great disc. I have an open bag. I don't have a manufacturer, and this is their understable understable fairway driver, and I'm going to plug this because that's the one they're telling me I have to throw. I built my bag based on what I thought were the best discs for the shots I needed, and with all the discs I've thrown for that hyzer flip shot, the Lutz is the best disc I have thrown in this category. I love this disc. You get the signed version. There were 100 of them. A bunch are probably sold by now. And there were 42 Tour Series Berg signed as well. You can get those. Okay, so in infinimetrical, the 200,000. You ain't making $200,000 your first year. What I'm saying is that you can build a business that turns into something that's really good. That's just a fact. You know, and if it's not 200,000, it's 140. It's whatever it is. It's like, you know, even if it's like it doesn't work out anywhere near as well as you think, but you're making 70 and you're doing disc golf for a living, and it's a living wage. You know, it's just the time's right. I mean, in disc golf to get into the business side of it, but it's like anything else. You got to do it right. You got to make the right connections. You got to treat people well. You got to be honest. You got to be fair. You got to have good ideas. You got to execute. You got to show up on time, follow through, and then you have to pay your dues and put your time in. But this isn't like 1987. Like all the tournament directors and promoters back then will tell you is they didn't pay their dues for 30 years. If they stuck it out for 30 years, maybe they're making a little bit of money now, but there wasn't going to be a lot of money next year. That's not where we're at now. The sport's booming. You can get into the sport. There's lots of ways to do it now where you can make a good living in disc golf now, aside from being as a player. And certainly take the word good out and say make a living. Anyone can make a living in the sport right now. You just got to put the time in. Nothing's easy, but it's obtainable. Guaranteed it's obtainable.
When's the next time we're going to be in Houston? How do we take a class? And where do we get signed stuff?
Okay. Thank you for the site. Where do you get signed stuff? scottstokely.net is where the Tour Series signed Berg and signed Lutz are. That's where you're going to get those. I am not going to be in Houston again this year, and I will not be in the U.S. for more than a year starting in October. And I don't know when I'm coming back at the end of that year. So as far as doing stuff in person, all my in-person seminars, I announced the dates for the entire 2022 year in January, and I sold out for the entire year this year within 24 hours. So I've been booked solid the whole year. I'm announcing clinic dates, which are my, afternoon 2 hour, if many people want to show up. I'm announcing those as I go. But I won't be in the Houston area again. The best thing you can do, the online class, become a complete disc golfer. I'm so proud of it, and it's going so well. I don't know when the next class is going to be starting, but if you go to scottstokely.net and join the mailing list, you will be the first person, well, you and everyone else on the mailing list, to be notified when that comes out. So, when the next class launches. That is the best place you're going to get the teaching from me right now. I don't know how that's going to work. My plan is not to start another 6-month class till much later in the year. Although if there's enough interest, I might open up one more class at one specific time, maybe, if there's enough interest. But I'm going to have to gauge the interest on that. So get on the waiting list, and then you'll be the first to hear. From what I've seen in tour courses this year, what is the number one must-have shot to compete? So I'm going to dodge your question by saying the number one shot is you must have all the shots. There aren't one-dimensional courses. I mean, there are some more than others. I mean, the OTB is a much longer course, and the Champions Cup is a wooded course, right? I mean, so there are courses that lean different ways, but you got to have every shot nowadays. If you want to compete in today's game, there's no such thing as having one shot. In fact, if you're wondering what one shot there is, you got the wrong mindset. The mindset should just simply be you got to have every shot. Whatever your weakest at, spend the most time on. Don't be dominant a player. Now, I'm still a better sidearm I'm still more accurate sidearm than backhand, but it's not for lack of trying. I've put far more time into my backhand than my sidearm. It just happens that I developed better sidearm. I played baseball very seriously for many, many years, and so I just developed that shot that's more accurate. But I've tried to be as balanced as possible. Let's see.
Dustin is a commentator for Gatekeeper. He said he had fun.
Where is he?
He did the commentating for Charlie Vintner.
Oh, where is he?
Dustin, Gatekeeper.
Where is Dustin?
I'll get there.
Where is it?
I'll put it on the screen for you.
Dustin, I want to say I commentated for Gatekeeper Media and had fun commentating when you played Charlie Vintner this year. Yeah, that was great. That was so much fun. I love being on the featured card. I wish I could be on. I want to be on the featured card on a course that favors my game more. From my understanding, because I love Gatekeeper and Derek and the whole crew at Gatekeeper. Absolutely love them, and I know they worked really hard to get me on a featured card. They've applied to put me on a featured card multiple times, and there was finally an opening this one. So I'm not complaining at all about being on the featured card. It's just that little short wooded course was a lot of little sidearm flick shots, and not that I can't do them, it's not my strength. A course that is more balanced or longer, I could showcase more of what I do. That's all. So I'm hoping I get on a card on a bigger course.
What touring pro do you think has the most potential?
Oh, God. Every single one of them under the age of 25. Stupid how good they are. I'm gonna take the cop-out answer and just say Gannon Burr. I love that. I love that kid. He's he's a good kid, but his game is so tight and so solid. But they all got potential. You have players like Carver Whitford and Dallas Garber from the Pacific Northwest that are both going to be superstars someday. Y'all haven't heard of them, but you will. So even when I say people like Gannon Burr, well, like right around the corner is that next generation of players. And by the way, the players that come after Dallas and and Carver are going to be better than Dallas and Carver. The next generation is going to surpass them. But those are a couple of the kids that I have a lot of confidence in both of them. They're going to be the big names. So they're not on tour, but they're two names to look out for. How about that? What type of disc do I throw the furthest throwing forehand? Well, right now I love my reverb from Prodigy. By the way, just to illustrate, when I say I picked the best discs, when I say the Lutz is an absolutely fantastic disc, not because I'm being paid. I'm telling you right now, my furthest flying sidearm disc is the reverb from Prodigy, and I'm not being paid anything by Prodigy. But I'm throwing it because it's that good. The Kevin Jones reverb from Prodigy has been an absolute gem in my bag. I also like the I like the Defender, the Enforcer. Still like the Destroyer. Destroyer is still a gold standard of discs. But I would have to say probably the Kevin Jones reverb is my smashing disc at the moment. Do you think an overhand dominant player can ever be the top competitively? No. Absolutely not. I will say that I don't think a dominant anything player can be at the top. James Conrad will be the last player without a sidearm to win the world championships for the next ever, is my prediction. Because it's simply harder to throw anhizers than hyzers, mathematically. I mean, there's just mathematical reasons why that's a harder shot. It's a less predictable shot. The margin for error is larger with anhizers and hyzers. If you don't have a complete game, you're not going to be able to compete. And he was able to, and his accomplishment is unbelievable. But I don't think it's going to happen again. I just don't. I think you got to be a complete player.
Talk about the ambidextrous people, like what was his name? They just mentioned it.
Yeah, ambidextrous is great. If you can throw right hand and backhand equally, that's fantastic. I don't think it's that much of an advantage over throwing backhand and sidearm. It's not about backhand and sidearm. It's about spinning the disc clockwise and spinning the disc counterclockwise. That's all it is. It does not matter if you throw right-handed backhand or left-handed sidearm. Now, there may be some subtle differences because the backhand might ultimately fly 10% farther at the highest end, and most players that have both throws will find the sidearms a little more accurate. So they're not quite identical, but they're close enough. So an ambidextrous player, sure, that's nice. I mean, is it an advantage? I suppose. I mean, if you're an NBA player and you're truly ambidextrous, like, of course, that's going to be a little bit of an advantage. But you still got to be able to lay up from both sides of the hoop. You still got to be able to throw backhand and sidearm. If you're an MMA fighter, you still got to be able to throw rights and lefts. So as long as you have both, I think that's good enough. Can a hyzer flip a reverb? I can, but only because I have one that's real beat up. They actually fly really true and straight. So a non-beat up one. Isaac Robinson's Christ. Isaac Robinson's sick. I think you're going to have every shot. But, okay, so by the way, when I say you're not going to see a player, you're always going to see outliers. So let me take back what I said about you're never going to see a player in the next 50 years. That's not going to be accurate. It's not an accurate statement. There's always outliers, but they're outliers. This is the God's honest truth. There is not a player in the world, not one. And if anybody wants to like lay some money down this one, I'll line it up. There is not a player in the world that can throw a backhand anhyzer drive as accurately and consistently as I can throw a sidearm hyzer drive. That does not mean I'm better than them. I'm a 1,004 rated player. I'm telling you, as a 1,004 rated player, my sidearm hyzer is more accurate than any 1,040 rated backhand player. And I would take that bet and I'll take that money all the way to the bank. Not because I'm better than them. I'm not, obviously. But because the sidearm hyzer is that much more predictable. You have a smaller margin for error on a hyzer. You don't have to get the angle as right for the shot to work. And when you're off on your angle, you're penalized less than on an anhyzer shot. It's strictly a mathematical thing. Hyzers are easier. Now, it doesn't mean a person can't throw anhyzers and be successful for a day or two or three or a four-round tournament. Of course, it can happen. You can always have outliers. But all things being equal, hyzers are easier. So when someone does win, even if it does happen, they're outliers. Gotta have every shot. By the way, James Conrad with Chris Clemens' sidearm probably doesn't lose a tournament. He's probably 1060 rated. That's how good James's backhand is. I mean, James is that good at backhand and that good at putting that without a sidearm, he's still that good. All right. So do you think the baskets will change in the near future? So I think the baskets are going to change just the slightest bit, but not much. You got to understand something. All of the best minds in disc golf have experimented, trial and error, and every one of these independent companies have independently made little slight changes they thought would improve things to get where we are today. I don't see any radical improvements happening beyond this. I mean, we're not going to see some quantum or paradigm shift or quantum leap into like another level of baskets. I think they're very close. They might subtly get better, but they're very close. People have said, like, why doesn't the Disc Golf Pro Tour just produce like a better basket and use it? Well, if they could just make a better basket, well, Innova and Discraft and MVP would have already been like doing it. It's not that someone can't make it better, but really smart people, this is the best they've come up with so far. I don't think it's getting that much better.
The sun coming up behind you? No, the falls are red.
No, the falls, it's the falls. They're lighting the Niagara Falls up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and head out, y'all. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. Standardized baskets next year. Now, can there be a standardized basket? Potentially there could be, but I don't think there will. And here's why. Because the major sponsors at these events are manufacturers, and the manufacturers are, I would assume, they're going to want their baskets in at the tournament that they're sponsoring. So the only way there would be a standardized basket, it would have to be a basket that isn't made by another manufacturer, because I can't imagine Innova being the title sponsor if the Discraft baskets were the standard baskets, right? I mean, wouldn't make sense. So they would have to invent their own basket. If they did that, you could probably standardize it and get away with it. By the way, hold on. I saw a couple questions that I missed. By the way, I hope you all bought a Tour Series Lutz signed and a Tour Series Berg. The more of these, like if I'm going to go check the stats, if this is successful, I'll do more of these live streams for sure. I mean, not that I don't have to be paid to come on and chat with everybody, but like it definitely, to get on here for 3 hours and chat with everybody. If this is also something where I'm selling discs when I'm doing it, I'm certainly going to want to do it a lot more. Someone had a question, just bought 2, sweet. Okay, everybody buy 2. Someone had a question about sidearm rollers. Where was it?
Buy 3, beat him.
What is it?
I said buy 3.
Yeah, buy 3. Hold on, let's go. Forehand rollers. Yeah, so the thing up here, I'm going to give you let's see, I sent you an email about new advice. I can throw 550. I'm trouble finding the correct power to use the approach shot short rolls. Okay, Jacob, don't let me leave without answering that question. But first, let me answer the one about forehand rollers, because I think it came in earlier. So when you throw sidearm rollers, the thing about rollers is, to a large extent, the disc rolls on the ground the way it flies through the air. It's just that you've turned or tilted the entire universe 90 degrees from what the air shot would have been. But an understable disc, if you threw this backhand away from the camera, an understable disc will turn fast to the right when it rolls. A stable disc will go straight. An overstable disc will start to roll to the left. It follows a similar flight. So as far as like what roller disc to throw, well, that's like saying what backhand disc do you throw. It depends on the shot. Now, you have all these different paths on the ground you would roll, so you would choose a different roller disc for all these different paths, the same way you would choose a different air shot disc for all the different flight paths in a perfect world. However, there's a couple extra challenges with the rollers on the backhand. We'll get to sidearm in a second. With the backhand, the biggest one being it's hard to throw a disc vertical straight up and down. It's an awkward motion. You're not pulling across your chest where you're strongest. You're pulling the disc up here. You're changing the angle. An overstable disc that you're trying to throw vertical tends to want to fade. So even though you've thrown it this direction, it tends to want to fade in the air and then not roll. It's hard. So it's more common than not to throw something understable because you can throw more of an air shot or an anhyzer, and then the disc does the turning in the air for you. It's an easier way to roll, although it's not the only rolling path you want. But it's a way to make the throw itself easier. That's not the case with sidearm rollers. With sidearm rollers, it's really easy to not throw flat, but instead throw 45 degrees, 60 degrees, 75 degrees, 90 degrees. All you do is just raise your arm and just throw it higher. You just go from a sidearm air shot up to a tomahawk. Anywhere in between is the different roller angles, which means you can really roll any disc in your bag sidearm mechanically without it being more difficult. So because you have complete control, then you want to start looking at, well, how do different discs roll? Well, if you're right-handed, throwing sidearm rollers, an understable disc turns left, a stable disc rolls straight, overstable disc rolls to the right. You can easily throw any of those three on a roller. So then you just need to start throwing different ones for different shots. And that's really going to be only about what is the rolling path on a specific hole. Where on the backhand, you have to take into account the difficulty of throwing a stable or an overstable roller disc. Sidearm, you don't have to worry about that. Sidearm, you can throw any angle you want, piece of cake. So start throwing different discs. Can I buy dinner during the Hambrick? Maybe. I have actually plans. I actually even specifically have dinner plans with a couple different people at that event. So message me. I'll let you know. Am I a religious man? I am not a religious man. And I don't want to polarize my audience, but I am not religious at all. Oh, you bought it this. Cool. Thank you. Let's see. Thought on disc throwing robot standardized flight numbers across all brands. Maybe it helps a little bit because you could be consistent, but the problem is that then you have discs that fly different within different runs of the same mold. And then even then it doesn't mean anything because maybe there's zero wobble on the perfect flying robot throw, but you wobble a little bit. So you're going to get different results. So really, I think it'd be a novelty to have, but ultimately you can't standardize it the way you could standardize, say, the tension in the strings of a tennis racket, or how tightly the thread is wound in a baseball. Like baseballs have to be a certain firmness. When they change the baseball, more or less home runs get hit because they change the ball from one season to the next. That happens all the time. Google it. It's interesting. There's certain things you could standardize, but because of the challenges that come with injection molding plastics and all the variabilities that happen when discs cool based on cooling times and humidity and temperature and all sorts of and additives, I don't see it standardizing. I just think it's too tough. So it'd be fun, but I don't think it would offer much. I think about cyber organic prosthetics for disc golf. I think it's great, and I think if there were prosthetics, there are people out there that could use them and they would be able to throw because of it. Let's see. There was somebody. Our tone poles the future of disc golf. They don't allow spit outs and everything it hits or it doesn't. Except that that's not true because if you barely click it, it's hard to tell. No, tone poles are not the future of disc golf, but they are, however, the past of disc golf. All right. I'd buy 2 if my wife would let me. Any advice on how to convince your wife you can always have more discs? How do I
How about you took a Stokely class and now you have to learn all new stuff because
you have to learn all new
they
stuff?
don't fly
No,
right
he
anymore.
can't. He can't tell his wife they took the Stokely class. Okay, here's what you do. And by the way, this is what you get for asking me relationship advice. You're going to talk to your wife about your disc buying habits, and you want to start off the conversation by saying, "Woman." Is that right?
I think the tone was a little bit too high.
Woman.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm.
Yeah. No, I don't ask me for relationship advice. You'll get terrible advice. Someone said new wife. That was going to be the first thing I said. Let's put it this way. And let me tell you about relationship advice. This is from the very last tournament that we just played. I had a player in our group whose girlfriend also plays on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And she finished and was following him around the final round with her mom. Her mom came to visit and was helping. So her mom, the touring player woman, and her mom were there following her boyfriend on the course. And we were talking about social media. And I was talking to him about how important social media is. And while we had a backup on a hole, I told him in front of his girlfriend and his mom, I said, the best thing you could do to help your social media is to get a second girlfriend that can follow you around and be your girlfriend when your number one girlfriend is playing. But of course, she's your number one girlfriend. So when she's done playing, you take the number two girlfriend and you kick her to the curb for a little bit. But you need to have a backup girlfriend for when your girl is playing at the same time as you. That was the relationship advice I gave a player on my card.
That's a true story.
Oh, Adrienne, is that a true story?
Yes.
That is very much a true story. And he laughed. Her and her mom laughed too. I didn't. I told him what I thought. So don't ask me for relationship advice. All right. Yeah, I love Out of Wild. It was fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to go back because someone asked a question earlier. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so Jacob, I am not doing any private lessons. I cannot do private lessons. I have such limited time. And when I do my lessons, it has to be in a group setting. It just doesn't scale for private lessons.
But you can do the online class.
But the online class is the way to do it. Okay, an email about some advice. You can throw 550, but if I'm having trouble finding the correct power to use with approach shots and shorter holes, do you have any advice on drills? I can tell you 100% exactly what you're doing wrong. Without even watching you throw, Jacob, I will tell you why you can throw 550 feet but can't hit your lines. What you're doing without watching you throw is, number one, you're switching to a slower disc like a putter, like everyone does, and then you're trying to throw the disc slower. Doesn't work. You can't just throw slower. That would be the same as a ball golfer trying to chip the ball off a green, but they're right at the edge of the green and they switch to a wedge just like you switch to a putter, and they do a full driving swing and then try to make the club go slowly. Doesn't work. Instead, what a golfer will do is they start drawing the club back a little bit and then they stop. They don't draw it back a long ways. They draw it back a little ways. And then from there, they give it some oomph, just like they might do on a drive. But the club's not going very fast because it had a very short distance to accelerate. This is all you're going to do to control your shots. Reach back less. Slow everything down. Take smaller steps. Reach back less. And then give it some oomph. It should still snap off your hands. You should still feel some pop. But don't do a driving throw slow. That won't work. Because here's the thing. Every single player, yourself included, if you throw 550 feet, you've got good technique. You have good timing. You cannot physically throw a golf disc 550 feet with bad form. It's impossible. So you have good form. I can tell you that without watching you throw. You just need to understand that that form is not finesse form. Remember the players, if you were here earlier, we talked about, they could throw really well in the 80s and 90s for those 80s and 90s courses. Well, they had the form for short courses. It's not that they wouldn't have been capable of throwing 500 feet. It's that they developed form for the finesse game, and the finesse game form is different than the power game form. Those players in the 80s and 90s couldn't just throw the disc harder and make it go 550 feet any more than you could just throw it slower and hit a gap at 250 feet. You have to change your form. And the way you change your form is reduce the backswing. Very long answer, but that's how you fix it. Okay, Ben said he'd buy 2 if his wife would let me. Any advice on how to convince? I already answered that one. Are there any discs that have fallen out of production that would be in your bag if they're still being produced? I don't know. That's a good question. Probably not. I don't get too attached to discs except for the Berg. The Berg's the only one that's irreplaceable. But I mean, there's so many good discs that if like I love the Tour Series looks. Available at ScottStokely.net. You can buy the autograph version now. Go there and buy some. They're still available. But if the Lutz wasn't available, I would find a good disc that did the same thing. But if the Berg stopped getting made, I have no idea what I would do. Question about power control. Got it. Tone poles were awesome.
Hey, how did that come up?
What?
I don't know.
Never start off with woman.
It's got a mind of its own. It just came up by itself.
Did it?
Yeah. I wasn't touching the screen.
Don't let me tell them all clinics go real light. True. Any good putting tools they can share? Yeah, it's not a matter of drills; it's your mechanics. I can't give you like this in a 50-cent answer. Watch my videos. Watch my videos. Search for me and putting and just it's all going to be in there. But it's not about drills. If you have bad form, you can do drills till you're blue in the face and you're not going to be good. It's not about drills.
Show your forehand grip.
Where does it say that? Forehand grip?
Yep.
So grip, how you grip the disc matters because you need to have a grip that works for you, but there is no one specific grip in disc golf, backhand side or more putting, because all of our hands are so much different. There will never be a universally correct grip. I will show you what I do, but that does not mean it's the right grip. It's the right grip for me. Index finger on the rim. I put my middle finger on top of it. The disc is snug in here. It's not floating around out like this. It's snug in here. And my thumb is not in the middle of the disc. My thumb is forward. When I'm gripping like this, my thumb is forward. So if I took the disc away, I'm pinching the fingers. Now, I go index finger on rim, middle finger above that. You can go middle finger on the rim, index finger above that. You can go middle finger on the rim, index finger bend. All 3 of those are 2-finger grips, and all 3 of them are fine. One important thing, though, is that the pad of your fingers, like where your fingerprints are, do not go on the bottom of the disc. They either go on the rim or they go on top of the finger above the rim. All right? That's where they have to go to be doing the correct mechanics with your wrist. If your fingers are on the bottom of the disc, the only way you can throw that disc would be to keep the palm up. Basically, you're what I call serving the pizza. That is not how you throw. As far as using one finger, I give complete permission when I teach to grip a sidearm with one finger. In a perfect world, 2 fingers are stronger than one, but I'm flexible on the 1-finger grip because grip is so individual. If you find you get a better grip with 1 finger, throw with 1 finger. That's one of the areas I'm flexible in. All right, I'm going to head out, everybody.
Go to the store, buy a disc.
Yeah, go to the store. Last chance. I'm going to give one last plug. ScottStokely.net. Well, the Tour Series looks is available now. It's out tomorrow, but you all have access to it first. It has stall flight numbers on it, so it's a collector's item because they misprinted and put 3,000 of these loads. We bought 3,000 of them and they have stall flight numbers on them. But the Tour Series loads, I had 100 of these signed, and I signed 42 Tour Series Bergs at scottstokely.net. And when these are gone, they're gone. As far as signing them, because they're in Georgia, and I don't like. There's no way I can sign discs and ship them while I travel. I don't have like I schedule bathroom time. Like, I'm so busy. So I signed all these when I was in the warehouse when I was in Georgia. So if you want to get them, they're signed, but there's a finite number of them and they're gone. So I hope y'all order those, and thank you, everybody. I had a blast. I love chatting with everybody. I can't wait to do it again. And yes, and good luck with the new knee. It's great to hear from you, Ron, for sure. What are the actual flight number of the loots? Oh, I don't even have that in front of me.
Oh, 9.
It's a 9.
Something. It was way up there. Hold on.
Yep. What brings them from the neck of the woods in Ontario? Oh, just here to see Niagara Falls. My girl has never seen the falls before. And since we're leaving the country in October and not sure when we're coming back, I wanted to make sure she got to see it before we left. That's all. Let's see. All right.
No, too far back. The actual ones are on the page.
Say my name. You know the one. Are you talking about oh God. I was about to say butthead.
Oh, there you go. 9, 5, -1, 2. Thank you, Stephen.
Yep. Like, no, it's bonehead. It's late to the party, but why aren't you playing Masters Worlds? Because I committed to playing Open this year, and I was at Idlewild, and I wasn't going to have time to get ready for the courses and practice them. I was going to be playing them blind. Yep. I knew I was close. I said Butthead because, the new Beavis and Butthead movie's out. If you haven't seen it, holy crap, it's that good. You got to, you have to have the Paramount app or subscription to do it, but you can get it for 99 cents a month for 2 months. Just make sure you cancel. Watch the Beavis and Butthead movie, the new one. It's great. Do I still sing South Park songs when I play? Yeah, who doesn't?
That and Hamilton.
Oh, I sing Hamilton a lot too.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you all. Yeah, you have to watch it. ScottStokely.net. Buy my discs. Thanks, y'all.